Hey, Prime members, you can listen to Crime and Sports early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the app today.
In the depths of an Atlanta forest, a clash between activists and authorities ends in tragedy. I'm Matthew Scher, and on my new podcast, We Came to the Forest, we expose the hidden truths behind a shootout that left one activist dead and countless lives forever changed. Binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest ad-free on Wondery Plus.
Hello and welcome to Crime and Sports.
Yay!
Yay indeed, Jimmie. Yay indeed. My name is James Pietragallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Jimmie Whisman.
Thank you folks so much for joining us today. We could not be more excited as usual. I don't know if you can hear it in our voices, but we still have the post-Scummies glow on us, you know what I mean? It's been a long week. You know how it goes. You hear about the post-Oscar parties and the post-Grammy parties, and it's nothing. It's even worse with the Scummies. I mean, the pageantry and everything. And
past winners are a nightmare.
I had that tux on for 3 days, just stumbling around from place to place, people with their trophies in their hands. It was really it was a lot.
Saying shit like, come here, I got to talk to you. Calm down, Lenny.
Calm down, man.
Talk
Chill
to you
out.
later.
You know what I mean? It's okay.
Act like you've been there before.
all of our people knew Jack running around proud. He was proud but angry at the same time. It was very scary stuff. So, by the way, if you missed last week, you missed the Scummies. I don't know what you were thinking. You missed Michael Irvin and the Scummies, which was, I would say, an all-time classic episode based on both of those factors. So you should check that out if you haven't. Also, if you haven't done it, you should give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
Yes.
We don't know why, but for some reason that helps a lot. That purple icon on your phone, even if you don't listen on that app, it helps a lot. It helps drive us up the charts. It's a thing. So get on there, give us 5 stars. Doesn't matter what you say. Say you're following instructions, you're following directions. Say that you're up for a Scummy next year. You're very proud of that.
Let me do it.
That's all. It's anything. It doesn't matter, but it helps a lot. Check out, also go to shutupandgivememurder.com for everything you could want, crime and sports and small town murder. And if you haven't listened to Small Town Murder, I don't know what you're doing.
Who are you?
You're making bad decisions with your life. I'm going to tell you as a friend. I'm sitting you down. We're in your ears right now. I'm going to sit you down and go, listen, you're messing your life up, and I don't like seeing you go down this road. Listen.
You got to straighten it up.
Straighten it out. Put Small Town Murder on and feel better, because it's good stuff. I'm telling you, you're missing. The train's pulling away from the station. You're chasing it, but it's still very slow. You could hop right on, but you're just not doing it. You're just watching it go. Get on the train. What is wrong with you? Listen to Small Town Murder. Do that. Also, listen to P.S. I Hate This Movie, because I got to watch Once Bitten this week, which was awesome. Got to see Cleavon Little in action and Jim Carrey before he was Jim Carrey. So that was very, very fun to see and watch again.
You see little glimpses of him, but you don't get the real essence of him. Cleavon's really the star of that movie.
He is. Yeah, Jim Carrey when they're having the dance off there. And by the way, did you notice? Did you notice that movie was Grease with vampires? Because that's what it was. It was just if you made Cha-Cha a vampire.
Right.
That's the only difference. So
he did a great job dancing, though.
That's what I mean. He's very good physically.
It's very Jim Carrey.
It's goofy looking, but still like in the thing. So yeah, check all that out and do that. And also you need to get on patreon.com/crime and sports. My goodness, the goodness that is happening there is amazing. This week, we're going to do something a little bit weird. We're going to go outside of the sports realm, as we do once in a while for the bonuses. We're going to talk about the Hotel Cecil documentary that we saw on Netflix that very good marketing for me. I don't even remember the name of it. It's the Hotel Cecil documentary. It's very big right now. It's on Netflix. It's the one where that Canadian girl was disappeared in the hotel. She came down to have some fun and she disappeared, and they found her in the water tank on the roof, and it's very creepy. And the hotel has a very kind of a gross history, and
it's just a dark past.
Yeah, the Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker's involved in here, and so we're going to talk all about that creepy shit on there. And then on Small Town Murders bonus, which you'll get access to with your Patreon donation, we're going to do the prisoner dating game. So
fantastic.
Oh, this is the week. If you've been waiting, maybe I don't know about Patreon. This is the week to jump in Patreon and get on that prisoner dating game, Hotel Cecil thing. Patreon.com/crime and sports. And in addition to that, as if that wasn't enough amazing value for your dollar, also Jimmie will mispronounce your name brutally, even though he's trying his best to do it right. So that'll also happen because you're a producer and we love you and you deserve to have your name butchered. So that's what we'll do for you. And if you just want to be a great person with amazing karma who also wants their name mispronounced, you can do that also at PayPal as well, using our email address, crimeandsports@gmail.com. And honestly, every damn penny that you guys give to us is just more than appreciated. We could not we couldn't begin to explain to you how much we appreciate it. So thank you.
Grateful is not a word that is really big enough for it. Thank you.
Not even close to that shit. So thank you for everything that you do for us out there. That said, damn it, let's get on with this. Let's do it.
Oh, great.
We got plenty of show for you today. We're going back to basketball this week. But it's a little different kind of story. Not a lot of sports in this at all. This is one for there's a lot of crime and a lot of muck, and it's kind of a mess of a personal life is what we're going to talk about mainly. So it's awesome. We're going to talk about Christopher Albert Herren. Do you know who that is? Chris Herren.
No.
He goes by, doesn't go by like Christopher Albert. That's doesn't fit on a jersey. Christopher Albert Herren. It's a lot. Born September 27th, 1975. So, not that old yet. We're not talking about one of the real classic old-timey guys here. Born in Fall River, Massachusetts, which will play a very important role in this plays a part. The town is almost a character in this whole story.
Really?
Because, the town's obsession with basketball and his family and all this stuff really adds a lot of fuel to the fire. Just pumping, not even fuel, coal, long lasting. It's gonna get red hot and stay there for a while. It's not even just gonna burn off. I have to give credit to a couple of people here. First of all, number one is Chris himself wrote a book that a lot of this is based on called Basketball Junkie. And that's by Chris Herren. And this is good to just give you kind of an insight into his mindset at certain times and shit like that. And then also there's a lot from a book called Fall River Dreams by a guy named Bill Reynolds. Yeah. He tried to basically go to this high school basketball program and write a book on this, as the team chased a state championship.
That's fun.
He's going to write a book, kind of like a David Halberstam Breaks of the Game type of thing. Like or John Feinstein wrote the one about Indiana in like 1985, the Hoosiers. So it's one of those deals, I feel like, except he tried to do it with children instead, but not like in a perverted way. We're not trying to, we're not calling Bill a pedophile or anything here. He just tried to base the book on a children's team.
Did he end up getting the happy ending with a championship?
I don't think so, no. But they lost in a tournament at the end of it. But this is a weird thing because it's almost like this town in basketball is like they are for high school football in Texas is the best way to describe it. Yeah, like it's an interesting thing, and it makes sense if you talk about it a little bit. Like it used to be, from what I understand, from what this book tells me, the one by Bill Reynolds, that Fall River, like at the turn of the 20th century, was a really kind of a highfalutin kind of town. People had money there. Like all of the school was built like with a shitload of money. Like everything they had was really good. Like their infrastructure was good. They were one of the first places that wasn't a major city to have telephones, electricity, all that shit. Like people with money were here. So I guess over time, kind of broke down more into ethnic neighborhoods, like most of the East Coast cities do.
Yeah.
And then
San Francisco, shit like that.
New York, same way, all the pockets of ethnic neighborhoods. And by World War II, it really started to take a turn for the worse because the Depression made it so most of the mills were shuttered. 80% of the mills that had operated in 1916 were out of business by World War II beginning.
80%.
Yeah, so 25 years, 80% of the mills are gone. So that's your
decimated.
That's your whole middle class. Those are all the people that are middle class people that that fill in the population of this town. That aren't the elderly people that they're taking care of, or very wealthy people. These are the people who are, the tax base here. So, but not anymore. So this leaves this town as, husks of mills and factories that are no longer there. It's a lot of these old kind of East Coast towns had that for a long time, that weird ghost town factories with nobody.
Used to be happening.
Yeah, like, they used to make this over there, and now it's just abandoned. So this high unemployment came in, but the thing they still loved and still rallied around was high school basketball.
So weird.
So this makes me think, like, I tried to compare this because I'm like, okay, they're looking for something positive, a silver lining in their kind of misery here, and they've chosen children's basketball. And, like, it's got to be the same thing as, like, in Texas when 10,000 people go to watch a high school game. It's like if you don't have kids in the game, or like your best friend's kids aren't in the game, or your nephews or something, like, what is your life like if you're leaving the house on a Friday night to watch children play football?
Yeah,
like,
in a kid's jersey.
Yeah. You're like, look at that kid. Oh, man, he's real good. He had 8 tackles last night, and he's got a C in biology. He's my favorite. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
2.3 GPA, great kid.
Oh, he's the best, man. It's so weird. So this is how this team, for decades, they won numerous state championships. So they're a powerhouse for decades. It's not like, one coach was there and he was good and then he left and then the program went to shit. Like, this program is really good. And Chris is expected to fulfill his destiny in this program.
Yeah.
Because he is an athletic legacy in this area. Like,
tell me more.
His grandfather was a big star at his high school. It's Durfee High School is where he goes. And his grandfather was a 3-sport star there.
Okay.
His mother was a cheerleader there, where he met his father, who was also a star, a star athlete. So, yeah, it's a John Cougar Mellencamp song, it seems like, except with a Boston accent. Here's a little story.
John Kennedy Mellencamp.
Yeah, John Kennedy Mellencamp. Ted Kennedy Mellencamp. There he is.
That's filthy.
That's filthy. About Jack and Diane.
God, it's so ugly. That song sucks.
Jack was drinking down by the river. When he
can you make John Cougar worse? Oh, I can, with a Boston accent. Jack and Diane.
So he quit playing sports as fast as he can.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, life fucking sucks. Sucks wicked hard. That would be the fucking song. Life sucks wicked hard.
Ah, Christ.
Yeah, man.
Sucking on a cannoli instead of a chili dog.
That's it. No, sucking on a tall boy.
Yeah,
That's
probably.
More likely. Oh, man.
Oh, boy.
So his brother, his father, his uncle, his 3 uncles played for Durfee as well. One of them was on a state championship team. He's a legacy. His brother, Michael, who's 5 years older, was, when he was done playing basketball at Durfee, was the school's all-time leading scorer. So that tells you.
And he's got to come into that shit.
He's got to come into that. His grandfather, his dad, and then his brother, only 5 years ago, all-time leading scorer.
His brother last week, and now you've got to do it.
That's a lot to overcome, I feel like, as far as you don't want that, No. I guess you do because it's easy because you're going to be. I mean, it's not easy.
You're going to coast through school, but you still got the pressure of being good at the fucking athletics part.
That's the thing, is you have a lot of pressure, but at the same time, you're going to be treated differently than everybody else, even before you do anything on the court, just because they expect you to. So your
freshman year is going to be awesome.
Yeah, you're going to feel great about yourself. He played. Chris ends up playing varsity in the freshman year too, as we talk about, that's tough. Now, his grandfather was a 3-sport star at Durfee.
Right.
He seems like he might have been the best athlete of the whole lot here. One day, he says that the gym teachers took a bunch of the kids outside who were good at baseball and took them to, this is his grandfather, took them all to a tryout for the St. Louis Cardinals in a nearby town.
Sweet Christ.
Back
in
then,
high school.
Yeah, back then they had teams would do all these like little tryouts for guys to fill their farm systems up. Teams like the Cardinals, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the good teams that were winning and had very established, they all had like 25 farm teams.
Fascinating.
So they would just fill them up with these kids. So you have so many people back then who played, quote, professional baseball in the minors, but they never got to the majors because, they have a 25-man roster and you have 800 people in your farm system. It's
right.
The math doesn't work, It's
and then you pick a particular position that you're good at that somebody fucking amazing plays, and you're never getting in.
Yeah, they're not always turning the team over. So,
right.
If you're on the Cardinals and Bob Gibson is on there and you're a starting pitcher, well, one of the slots is locked up for 15 years. You're not
stick around down there for a while.
You're shit out of luck, mister. I mean,
Jeter.
Yeah, you're behind.
You play shortstop, you're fucked.
Yeah, well, ask Alfonso Soriano. He became a terrible second baseman and left fielder because he was a shortstop that could never get up because of Jeter. So he switched. They switched him to second base.
Fastball fucker.
Yeah, try something else out. He can hit the cover off the ball. So they're like, well, fuck it, we'll let him make errors at second base. That's fine. Whatever. Good enough. So
Jeter will turn 2 on the next at bat.
Yeah, it's all right. We got this. If he doesn't mess it up at second,
right.
If he doesn't screw up the relay,
right.
Doesn't know what he's doing over there yet. So there was about 400 kids at this tryout, which is it's like a big league of their own style tryout.
Yeah,
like a big.
I don't know 400 people.
That's what I mean. A big mass tryout. And apparently that he made the team or made, the organization. They offered him a minor league spring training job, I guess, or you could call it, to play a spot on a roster in Columbus, Georgia. So he was down there for a little while, and then he ended up coming home for a bit and quitting baseball, but then going back and going to Missouri and playing Class D baseball, which was like rookie ball back then. It was the lowest level. But back then it was a job. And it was hard to come by jobs. He went home and couldn't get any work in Massachusetts, so he went to Missouri to play baseball for a couple bucks just to make something.
Yeah. Just get a paycheck.
Yeah, because back then, I mean, it was tough. And then he ended up coming home after a couple years. He said he realized he was never going to make the majors, so he just went home and became an electrician, joined the union, and the family said never talk about being a professional baseball player ever.
Why would you?
You had to pull it out of them. Like these old men, old women, they're fascinating. If you dig a little below the surface, you're like, wait, you went to the moon? And they're like, yeah, 3 times. You're like, are you fucking kidding? Why'd you not say that? You're like, I don't know. It was a long time ago, they say. Like,
doesn't matter. Everybody's heard the one step for mankind shit. Nobody's going to pay attention to me anyway.
We've all heard about the moon. You don't need to hear anything more about the moon. You've seen it on TV, right? That's what it is. Like, what?
I just found out my grandfather grew up in Pontiac, Michigan, and I was almost born there because I happened to ask him a question. I had no fucking idea. I thought he was in New York the whole time.
That's what I mean. You don't know anything about these people. They don't talk about themselves.
And he survived a bowling alley job that he used to have where the little Timmy that worked on the lane next to him fucking died, took a pin to the head, and he's dead.
I love how back in the day, even working at the bowling alley was a dangerous thing to do.
Dangerous as fuck.
Even the bowling alley was like, hey, I don't know if you want to do that.
They didn't have machines that reset the pins, so they had kids and expendable society back there throwing pins around.
I read an article about that once, actually, about that used to be a very dangerous job, and people would be injured all the time, and it was considered like a manly job to do that.
League play, you got these guys that just came off the fucking oil field, and they're in there throwing balls, instead of punching their wife.
Yeah.
And then a kid takes a pin to the side of the head, and it's over.
They're 3 pitchers deep into this thing already, and now they're 3 pitchers of Miller Lite deep into it. Now they're shucking the
3
ball.
3 pitchers and a couple of pretzels, and they're pissed.
They're good and angry. Dude, that's what is it with old people? You never know what's in there. They just don't tell you
care.
shit.
They don't want to talk about it until they want to talk about it. And then when they want to talk about it, they don't shut up.
Dude, you can't. People now can't put a half decent outfit on their kid without posting it on Instagram like they're fucking parent of the year. These people would go to the moon and they were like, I don't know. It's a long time ago.
Watched her mom die of polio, James.
Oh my God, that's wild. Polio.
Polio.
How often does that happen anymore? You don't hear, well, give it time. People will be like, polio's not that bad. It's fine.
You never hear anybody dying of it. You're fine.
No, it's fine. Polio.
Survival rate's got to be high.
I know no one who's died of polio. So, personally, I think it's bullshit, and it's fine. So, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Why would I give my kid a vaccine for that? I don't even know anyone who died for it.
Why would I get it? That's crazy.
Stupid. So stupid.
I don't know what's in it.
No, who knows? Probably polio, so no. Oh, man. So his brother Michael, okay? His brother Michael is an interesting character in this whole deal. His brother, like we said, all-time leading scorer at the school. Now, right out of Chris's book, he says that he was about 7 years old when he first got to see Michael play basketball, organized basketball on the team. He said Michael was 12. He was already being called the best kid in the city. Colleges were already looking at him.
Wow.
At 12.
Yeah. When they look at Michael Jordan, not 12.
Not 12. Imagine this. Think about it this way. When you were 12, what potential did you have that would make adults with money interests be like, got to keep an eye on that kid?
Nothing.
Not a goddamn thing. I had nothing going for me.
Nothing.
12, I was pretty good at Super Mario 3. I was decent at that. I mean, I don't know.
I had naps on lock, James.
I mean, I don't know what else I was really good. I could eat like a horse. I got that down.
Oh, yeah.
If that was a profession, I would have had that. But other than that, other than a Food Network job, I really wouldn't have had nothing to do there.
Stealing, kid, I was really good at that.
Yeah. Lots of stuff like that. So he talks about this first game, seeing Michael before the game in a layup line, which if you don't know basketball shit, they all line up to just shoot easy shots, a little layup by the rim before to get your rhythm in, get warmed up. And he said that this was against Lafayette Park, which was a lot of tough kids there, he said. And he said kids in the crowd were acting like bullies and trying to bully Michael's team, trying to, make them intimidated. So he said they were yelling at him. They called him names. And he said the game started and his brother made a layup on the first play of the game. And he said without stopping, he just made the layup, kept on going, ran over to one of the people that was talking and beat the shit out of him. Said beat the shit out of him. Just ran right over, popped him right in the face and beat his ass. And
at 12.
At 12. And Chris said, quote, "I thought it was awesome." So
this is a sport for me.
This is great. This is now I, you know what? Maybe I understand why these adults are going to watch kids play basketball.
Right.
If those are the games. That'd be
Give me
great.
that kid's jersey. I'll put it on tomorrow.
Oh, dude. I will get shit-faced and go watch 12-year-olds hit layups then punch each other. I'll do that all fucking day long. That's
not
amazing.
even the team. Punch their fans.
Punch I don't care. Punch somebody. Punch the ref. I'll pay to watch that. That's hilarious. I'm into that. I'm into 12-year-old on 12-year-old violence. That's funny. So, well, the kid deserves it,
Sure.
In that situation.
He's got a mouth on him.
Yeah. So he said he loved going to his brother's games. There's always a lot of people at the games. The team was really good, too, while Michael was leading the team, because he was obviously the all-time leading scorer. He's leading the team. Now, Michael's a little taller than Chris. Chris is going to be about 6'2" when he grows up. Okay. Michael is 6'4", so a little bit more size. He says that in Michael's last 2 years, the team won 46 straight games.
Sweet Jesus.
And 2 state championships.
Wow.
So big shoes to fill when that's your brother.
46 games straight.
Straight. Just put the team on your back and carry them away down the fucking way. It's insane. And he was a 3-time all scholastic in the Boston Globe also, which I guess means you're good at school as well. The only other kid who ever had that done was Patrick Ewing, he said. So
really?
Yeah, that's pretty good shoes to fill if you don't know about basketball.
If he played his cards right, he could be a big NBA superstar and then go back to the Garden and not be recognized.
And not have anyone know who you are, even though you're 7'1".
And you have a face like Patrick Ewing.
But even if you didn't recognize someone, if you see a 50-year-old 7'2" man in an $8,000 suit saying he played, probably played there. If not, you know what? Let him in. If he does anything, you'll probably be able to pick him out of a crowd, I would say. You know what I'm saying? He's not going to blend in and disappear. Right. You're going to oh, there he is. He's all the way out of the fucking corridor, but there he's down by entrance.
A guy that big, with that big of a blockhead and those bad knees, he played basketball, sir.
basketball.
You
Stupid
idiot.
Ewing should have taken that guy to the team shop and go, that's my jersey still. That's how good I was. I haven't played here in 20 fucking years and you still sell it. Stupid.
Take him to the team shop and stand next to the probable picture that's for sale there with your face in it.
Oh, shit, man. Jesus Christ.
I don't care how much he ages. Patrick Ewing will always look like Patrick fucking Ewing.
Always. No,
There's only one man that looks like that on Earth.
And it's Patrick Ewing. Yeah, who looks like like Patrick Ewing.
Patrick Ewing.
It's hard to describe. He's just a big Patrick Ewing. You know, if someone, you could just say that guy looks like Patrick Ewing, and whether he did or not would be obvious instantly. You know, everyone would go, oh yeah, or no, he doesn't. I mean, Jesus Christ.
How somebody didn't? How do you work for that team and not fucking know?
That's ridiculous.
That can't be true.
Between that and the Charles Oakley shit that happened a couple years ago, what's going on down there? You know,
they really didn't appreciate that fucking 8 years of bliss there. I mean, apart from a championship, 8 years of a great fucking team.
They have some of the worst.
Just become a fan?
The Dolans are the worst owners in sports. That's probably a good reason why. It starts right from the top and trickles down. So that's why the Knicks haven't won a championship since 1972.
Probably somebody that worked for the Knicks in a Carmelo Anthony jersey.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking jerk.
We're going on 50 years next year. Congratulations, everyone. That's great. Knick fans, we're doing it. So
they're going to be the Cubs of the NBA, babe.
They already are. Well, if they don't, the Suns will. Either way, I'm miserable because those are the only two teams I like. So I can't win with this shit. Can't win. Yeah. So Michael, his brother, after one of the playoff games, this was a playoff game in the Boston Garden. That must have been cool to be a kid and do that.
Fuck yeah.
The Boston, they say here in the newspaper, the quote, the eyes couldn't stay off Herren. He was involved in everything. He was involved in the good, the bad. He was involved in the ugly. 1 minute he was scoring, clenching a fist to the Durfee crowd, yapping. The next minute he was committing a charge, clenching a fist, yapping at the referee. 1 minute he was up. The next minute he was on the sidelines at the end of the third period. Blood rolling down his face from an 8-stitch cut across the top of his left eye from an elbow. Like, they just talk about he's just such a tough kid, and they're just gushing.
Is this basketball still?
This is basketball still, yeah. This isn't
8-inch
hockey.
Gash in his face.
We moved it. Well, he catch an elbow on a rebound or something, but
I guess.
This is not hockey. This is Northeast basketball.
Right.
In the Northeast, you play a little differently.
They're playing street ball on the fucking actual street? What is happening?
Elbows are part of the body, babe. That's what it's about. That's how it happens. They said that right from Chris's book, he says, quote, and no one was tougher than Michael. You know how two guys square off and one of them says fuck you to the other and the other says fuck you back, and it goes on like that? With Michael, you never got in that second fuck you. That's basically what, obviously, went and punched a kid after a layup. So,
right.
Yeah. Now, as far as Chris goes, he started, he said from the time he started youth basketball as a young kid, it was not just a game at all. In his family, you had to win. He'll talk about later on his team was a runner-up in a tournament, and they all got big trophies, and he threw it in the garbage on the way out of the locker room.
Yeah, I would too.
He said, you don't bring home a second-place trophy in my house.
Well,
you're not allowed.
Not just because it's a second-place trophy. It's just because it's not first-place trophy.
That's what I mean. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Anything else is, what do I have a trophy for this for? Like,
right.
To remind me that I lost? Thanks. So, he said it sucked. He had to win. He said that I guess in that youth league that his brother played there too, and they never lost a game while his brother was on the team.
Really?
In the youth league. Yeah, they won 80-something games in a row, he said. And he said then when he was there, they started losing sometimes, and it made him feel terrible, obviously. He said that he wasn't programmed to deal with losing in his house. He said that wasn't a thing. Everybody was a winner, and now he's like, oh, I'm not a winner. What the fuck? Right. I'm screwing up the lineage here. He said his dad was weird because sometimes his dad would say, oh, you'll get him next time. And sometimes he would yell at him, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you got to play tougher, which might have been. Sometimes he played well and they lost. And he said, well, you get him next time. You can't do everything. And then maybe he played like shit another time and wasn't paying attention. And he was telling him, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. That's why you lost. So that could be just decent coaching from the dad. I don't know. He said that the father never blamed coaches. It was never, oh, the coach should have done that. It was your fault. Well, you're the best player on the team. Why didn't you do better?
Yeah.
You'd have won. So
coach wasn't playing. We can't blame him.
That's the thing. He said he said his dad didn't take him out in the driveway, make him shoot 50 free throws if he screwed something up or something like that. He said it was just it was about his attitude and his mental toughness. And basically, like, the way they looked at it was like, you're a great basketball player. It's in your blood. Everybody's a great basketball player. You just have to be tougher and more, mentally you have to be better than the next guy, and then you can always win because physically you got this. You're fine, type of thing. He said that he had to score points, and that's the way it was. He said he never liked it. He said, quote, "I never liked it. I was a fragile kid, a nervous kid. I wasn't very good in school, but the expectations were always there. I was living in the shadow of a very accomplished brother. Michael was 5 years older, so when he was 12 and already on his basketball journey, mine was starting too, whether I liked it or not. Michael loved it. Me, I hated it." Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
It's a lot of pressure, man.
It is a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure it's a different kind of problem. Normally, we don't have this kind of problem with a lot of our athletes. Ours, we always have with the father. Is it better to stick around and beat the shit out of everybody within arm's reach, or is it better to just go away and never be heard from again?
Sure.
And we have mixed results. It seems to be bad both ways. And then you have like Art Schlichter's father or Todd Marinovich's father who are giving him kidney gummies in the crib and yelling at him about gripping the football wrong when they're 2.
And most of these guys, though, that we cover, that we talk about every week, don't have a lineage of just successful athlete after successful athlete.
No.
There's a couple.
Well, look at Michael Irvin's family last week. It was a hard scrabble situation where he had to make, if he wanted to play and do things, he had to really be self-motivated to do it and get out there and not be a roofer like his dad and all that shit. Whereas this is kind of, he's being pushed into this through family lineage, so it's a little easier and harder at the same time.
I might say that that's a bad thing to do to somebody. If you're a successful athlete, encourage them to fucking draw or something, because otherwise they may end up like Kellen Winslow. This is not a positive thing.
But then also you might end up like Ken Griffey Jr.
There is that. You know what I mean? God damn it.
You could end up like him or Barry Bonds or, any number of these even better sons than the fathers, which happens.
LeBron's kid is really fucking good.
So I mean, you never know. I mean, look at Michael Jordan's kid. He had a hard time and, quit teams and all that. And we'll talk about Chris's kid later on, too, because he's going to have one. And
oh, no.
He's got issues as well. We'll talk about it. So, not like bad issues, but just, whatever. Like
A few miles from the glass spires of Midtown Atlanta lies the South River Forest. In 2021 and 2022, the woods became a home to activists from all over the country who gathered to stop the nearby construction of a massive new police training facility, nicknamed Cop City.
At approximately 9 o'clock this morning, as law enforcement was moving through various sectors of the property, an individual, without warning, shot a Georgia State Patrol trooper.
This is We Came to the Forest, a story about resistance.
The abolitionist mission isn't done until every prison is empty and shut down.
Love and fellowship.
It was probably the happiest I've ever been in my life.
And the lengths we'll go to protect the things we hold closest to our hearts. Follow We Came to the Forest on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. We're going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles.
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud.
Sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
Stuff. So he said that people always told him that the game seemed to come easy for him, but he never thought so. Because he didn't like it, so he thought, it wasn't that fun. He said fun was playing with your friends in someone's backyard. Once you played in real games and started keeping score and counting points, it wasn't fun. If you, it was something you did, something you were supposed to do well, you had to win. That's right out of his book, so that's an interesting thing. He said he was never good in school. He didn't like it. He didn't get good grades. He said he even had a couple tutors for a while, but it didn't help at all. He said that his basketball was always more scrutinized than his academics, even when he was very young. Like, never mind that shit. If you play ball well enough, you'll get to college that way, type of deal. One of the teachers, he was told, or his teachers told his parents, quote, Chris is hyper. He has a lot of energy. Don't give him any sugar. So they tell him, make him go outside and play, make him run around. Don't give him sugar. He said that's how they dealt with his ADD at the time.
You'll make him burn it out. Yeah,
burn it off. That's what they used to do. Yeah. I know a couple different kids that were hyperactive, and their parents would make them go run around the block 5 times.
Go be tired instead of fucking nuts.
Go run around the block 5 times. Get that energy out of you, which is,
Lord.
It's good for your cardio, I guess, but I don't know how well it's really handling the situation.
No.
So, yeah, he said that's how it was dealt with, not very effectively, and it kind of stuck around always, and he was shit in school. So when he gets to high school at Durfee, he said that right away, oh, you're Michael's brother. You're Michael's brother. You're Michael's brother. He didn't have a name for a while. He was Michael's brother. They even gave him 24 as a number, which is the same number his father wore.
Jesus.
So he's like, fuck. He can't. There is no breaking away from this. Just the way it was. He said that he was supposed to be the next great player at the school, following his brother's footsteps. He said a lot of people didn't like him. A lot of the seniors on the team didn't care for him. The upperclassmen didn't like him because they were treating him like royalty, and just because of who he was, and they were like, "Fuck this freshman," But he's good. Yeah. That's the thing. Sure. He said that his first game for the team was in a Boston suburb, Weymouth. I think it is Weymouth. It's spelled, so it's probably Weymouth.
It's got to be Weymouth.
Weymouth. He said a couple days before the game, a guy on Channel 5 in Boston had done a little piece on him about how he was Mike's little brother. He was the new face of Massachusetts basketball and all this shit, and that he began dunking the year before. He's in 9th grade. He's already dunking. So they showed him in the video dunking a bunch of times, and they played New Kids on the Block over it. You have to. This is 1989. So
right.
What do you think? I bet it was the right stuff.
It's hanging tough. Tough.
You think? I bet it was the right stuff.
It might have been.
Just because.
But I think it's hanging tough.
Think it's hanging tough? It might be. Yeah. Either way, it's fucking terrible, and you don't want that on your record as you go into 9th grade.
Was it Please Don't Go Girl?
That would be amazing. That would be the best if it was the
just a little Joey McIntyre singing.
Fucking, that would be the best if it was that one. I would like that the most. I feel like
that's the way Boston does things, though. So I could see it being done.
Well, they were Boston. They
ruthless.
Were Boston kids, so that's where that came from. Probably they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna play New Kids on the Block while he dunks. We're gonna play New Kids on the Block. He's just gonna dunk all over. It's gonna be beautiful."
Right.
Wait, so he said that. He said that as soon as he got to the game. There's a whole section of kids screaming at him and singing New Kids on the Block at him, mockingly.
Those motherfuckers.
It's like, fuck! God damn you, Wahlbergs!
No!
Fuck me. Oh, man. So now the author, Bill Reynolds, who wrote the book on that year in the life of this basketball team, he says the idea was to follow the team through a season and examine what the team meant to the city and to the kids who played on it. And it was a look at, the whole experience of the town, how they're connected, why they love high school basketball so much, the whole deal. He said, why it was so embedded. His plan was to focus on the coach, who was a legend locally, Coach Karam, Thomas Skippy Karam. He played for here. So Coach Karam, who is a legend who had once played at Durfee, he coached there for over 30 years, and he was a legend. They'd won a shitload of state championships, and he's a big deal. So he wanted to really concentrate on him. But he said once he got there, quote, it was quickly apparent that the story was more complicated. At the center of it was a psychic battle being played out every day between Karam and Durfee's junior star, Chris Herren, a battle that was both generational and cultural. With his teen idol looks and his swept-back hair, walking through the corridors of Durfee as if he was the leading man in a Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah. He said that This is how Chris was. He said at one point when the book was almost finished, he made Chris read a couple of parts of it to show him what he was doing because he said these were sensitive areas. And he said it was the kid was 17 years old. He didn't want him to be blindsided by some sensitive shit about him coming out in a book.
Sure.
So he said, Chris said, quote, "What's so sensitive? The fuck, I don't care." And the guy said, quote, "How about the fact that you drink too much and do no work in school and every other word out of your mouth is fuck? How about that?" And he says, quote, "Oh, I don't give a fuck about any of that."
This is Boston, man.
Yeah, well, I'm drinking and swearing. That's what we do here.
Right.
Fuck is what you say, you know. Right. Well, actually, there's a thing about fuck in this that I'm going to talk about that's pretty funny.
Can't wait.
It's good shit. So he doesn't give a fuck. He said the only thing that he objected to one thing in the book, and that was one thing. He said it was so insignificant that it was like, that's what you're, okay.
I don't like that you say I wear British Knights.
I don't. I wear Adidas. you know, you could look down.
Right.
You could just look at them. You fucking bum.
These aren't L.A. gear, sir.
You're a bum. So he said that the thing he objected to was a profanity-laced speech he'd made to his teammates in the locker room minutes before a big game. And he said, quote, "Let's just go out and fucking play like fucks and fuck them up." That was his quote. Okay. And he said to his team.
Know what that means.
He said, quote, "You see that last sentence?" He said, sounding like a young kid asking for a favor, quote, "Can you change fucking play like fucks and fuck them up to fucking play like animals and fuck them up?" That was the only change.
I had a feeling that the word fucks was the one that where he was like, it doesn't make any sense. Let's change that.
I feel like that's too much. That's a superfluous, you know. It's a gratuitous fuck in there. That's too much, I feel like. The first and the last fuck, you got to bookend it. I understand that. But the middle one, let's put some, you know, like some turkey or some roast beef. What are we going to put, another piece of bread in the middle? Come on. We're making a fuck sandwich. We don't. Right. When you're making a fuck sandwich, you can't put fuck in the middle, too. I mean, what are we talking about here? Jesus Christ, man. I wish we could call this episode a fuck sandwich because it would 1,000% be called that. Eating a fuck sandwich.
Play like fucks.
Play like fucks.
Doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. Who the hell knows what the hell he's talking about? He's just so out of his mind.
Yeah.
And he said also the weird thing was that he said, this is a quote from the book, quote, "He seemed to live exclusively in the present tense, to the point that he didn't even have a driver's license, even though he was more than a year over the eligible age. And didn't every high school kid want a driver's license?" He said, quote, "I don't want it. I don't need it." They said, the author asked him, quote, what do you mean you don't need it? And he said, "Everywhere I want to go, somebody will take me."
Yeah.
That's his attitude. It's
actually a pretty kick-ass attitude.
It's interesting, but it's not. Yeah. If everyone had that attitude, no one would go anywhere. That's the problem. You know what I'm saying? Nobody would go anywhere. Someone will take me. Well, they're all waiting to be taken too. So who the fuck? Right. Someone's going to drive. Get your license, asshole. What are you doing? So they said he said he was very different. He didn't seem like he was trying on roles. He was just a different kind of kid. He didn't have like the school sports jacket. He didn't wear like a Letterman jacket. He forgot to sign up to take the SATs.
Me too.
Just forgot. Me too, yeah. But I never thought I was going to college.
Right.
They've been talking about this since he was born.
I never knew to take them.
I didn't know. I figured I was like, oh, that's for like different kids that are doing things. Like I'm not.
I never even looked in when the schedule was for them. I didn't give a fuck about them that much.
I heard people were taking them, and I was like, oh, that's what people who go to college do. And then I went on with my life.
I heard people say, I got this on my SATs. And I was just like, nobody told me to take them because I think even the adults were like, he doesn't need those.
Yeah. No, the teachers would tell the kids that needed to take them. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Sign up. Like I really feel like
they told the kids that needed them. Right.
They realized that we weren't those kids, Jimmie. No. They were like, no. You'll do something different than that. Don't worry. College
we'll schedule
for everyone.
You for your hammer fitting.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to get a work boot fitting at 3:00.
We'll see how big of a sledge you can hold tomorrow afternoon.
That's the sledge aptitude test. That's the SATs for us. Sledge aptitude. You just
He's
see how
the big
good
rock,
you are
little
with it.
rock guy. That guy.
Yes, that's him. He was always late for school, and he lived 3 blocks from the school, Chris. So that was
It's always late.
You know what I'm saying? He said when the coach said, "Why the fuck are you always late for school? You're getting in trouble." He said his parents left early for work, and he doesn't have an alarm clock. So don't know what to tell you, Coach.
I don't have a driver's license, Coach.
Yeah, I forgot to take the SATs. They said for away games, he would show up to the bus without his gym bag that had his uniform in it, and he figured only because he knew that one of the other kids would grab it for him at some point. Someone will grab it for me.
What the fuck?
I mean, they're not going to not let me play, so they'll be fine.
He's in high school at this point.
Yes, he's in high school. He's acting like he's an NBA player who is like lowering himself to play on like some sort of charity league team or something. Like, I don't know.
Or a 10-year-old who just is incapable of taking care of his own shit.
Either an NBA player or a 10-year-old, and they have a lot of similarities. So that's
right.
It's true. So Chris says, or this is a teammate on Chris. This is Jeff Karen, one of his teammates. He said, quote, "There's no one like Chris. He only cares about what's right in front of him. The school could be burning down, but if there were 2 ants going across the floor, he would be looking at them, asking which one you thought was going to get to the other side first, wanting to bet on one of them. Everyone else would be running to get out of the building. He would be watching those 2 ants. The whole family's different. I used to love going over there when I was younger. The house was always open, people coming and going. My house is like a fortress, alarms, bars on the windows. The Herrens are just the opposite. Michael's always giving his car to friends and then forgets about it. You ask him where his car is and he says he has no idea. They're all like that. You can't not like the Herrens. It's like they don't care about what most people care about. It's like they're a fucking family of flakes is what it sounds like. It sounds like a bunch of flakes.
Old Karen is a grim Karen. He just told us all those things that he likes about them. Those are all bad things, man.
And he's like, they're great. He's the opposite. He's like cheerleader Karen.
He's awesome. He shits in his pants and then just walks around. It's
pretty
crazy.
Cool. Sometimes he'll dip his hand back there and then write his name on the wall in it, and it's all right. His mom doesn't even care. She's like, nice artwork, Chris, and they put a frame around it. It's really fucking cool. What a supportive family. At some point here, he gets a shamrock tattoo on his left forearm.
Yeah.
Which is
very Boston.
If you've ever seen on Family Guy, at one point, Chris, the son, walks up to Peter and he goes, "Dad, I need to get a shamrock tattoo. It's time." It's just like, if you're from the Boston area and you're an Irish kid, at some point you'll end up with a shamrock tattoo on your goddamn body.
Yeah. It's either that or the Notre Dame logo. You're getting one of the two.
One of the two, yeah. If his name was like, Nate Dawson, he would definitely get that probably. But he ends up with his family crest and the shamrock tattoo. That's what he does, two different tattoos. Now let's talk about his entree into drugs and alcohol here. He says, quote, this is from his book, Chris's book, quote, "My first drink was cold duck champagne. I was 12 years old, and Kevin Mikolazak and I found an old bottle of it in my basement. We got away with it, and that was the start. We didn't drink a lot then, but whenever we could steal a bottle out of someone's liquor cabinet, we would go and drink in the woods," which is every Northeastern kid's start to everything is, I drank in the woods. If there was no woods, I feel like most of whatever happens bad with kids would never happen. It all happens in the woods when you're a kid, so... Without the woods, burn the trees to the fucking ground if you want to save your kids, chop down the trees. I'm telling you that right now. Otherwise, they're going to drink liquor back there and finger each other and shit. It's going to be gross. Gross. It's going to be disgusting. So he said a few years later, then they would go to graduate to standing outside liquor stores, trying to get people to get it for them, which we've all done that.
Right.
We've all done the fucking, you're like 16, you're like, I just don't have my ID on me.
Right.
Like, I don't care. Give me $5 and I'll buy you whatever you want.
Hey, mister, would you buy us alcohol? The amount of times I had to say that.
Oh, my God.
Hey, mister. Hoping that I just got the coolest guy ever.
Hey, man. Yeah, you'd like scope people out. Look, no, not that guy.
Right.
No, he looks like a jerk.
You always find the guy that's shame-riddled walking into the liquor store. That guy, the guy that's like, he's driving a piece of shit car.
Yeah.
And he's wearing clothes that are 10 years out of date.
You look at a guy
that
who
guy
looks
will
like
buy you booze.
You look at a guy who looks like he needs $5. That's who buys you booze. That's it.
Yeah.
He looks like he could use $5, or he looks like he's going to buy booze. So we could just buy his booze and he'll buy us booze.
Right.
It's not like if you saw anybody with a car seat in your car, you were like, nope. They're not buying shit.
A guy that looks like he's 2 days unshaved. That guy will buy you anything.
That's the guy. He said that they always got somebody to buy him booze. And, of course, in Boston, too. Like, you little pissy, I'll buy you some booze. There you go. Hey, what, did your dad run out? What's going on? What's wrong?
Here, go throw this up.
Yeah. Go throw this up in the woods, kid. There you go. So make a nice vomit pile right in the middle of the woods.
Yeah.
Tell you
this
what.
is going to smell gross. Get away from me.
Disgusting. So by the time he was a freshman, he's on the varsity team. And he said he had a whole new circle of friends, which were all the older kids, all the upperclassmen on the team. He says, so all the other kids, the freshmen were doing more kid stuff, that he was going to keg parties already, he said, at 14. Yeah. Said he quote, we'd be out in the woods somewhere, or maybe half hour away at the beach in Westport, or behind some old warehouse, 80 to 100 kids. That sounds about right. Then we started to go to Sunnison, one of his friends, Sunnison's basement. His parents were divorced and his mother worked nights. We called it the speakeasy.
You betcha.
The divorced parent, whoever they live with, works at night situation was the greatest thing that ever happened to children, besides the woods.
Divorced parent and mom breaking her ass to keep this roof up.
Like, sweet, we can fucking get messed up and screw the house up while she works really hard at 2 o'clock in the morning. Awesome. And then we do that because we're animals.
Let's do that. And then when she gets home, can't wait to hear her go, why do I do this?
Why do I smell Mad Dog 2020 vomit? What is happening in this house? This is disgusting.
This is my reward.
No shit. He said, quote, I certainly wasn't the biggest drinker in my group. My friends used to get on me for never really finishing a beer, just taking 3 or 4 sips and putting it down, then picking up another one later. I was no angel. I did my share of puking and all, but there were guys in our little group who were much worse off. Drinking didn't really do it for me. I drank to be accepted socially, to be one of the guys. I just wanted to be like them back then. So, yeah. Sure. He said, I certainly didn't see drinking as the problem. Quote, now the acid, that was a problem. That's
oh boy.
Yeah, acid.
At 14, that's a quote.
Well, no, when he's a junior, he said it started. Okay. So a couple of years in, he said it started when he was a junior. He said we didn't do it all the time because it wasn't around all the time. Acid's always spotty. It's around. Somebody will get a couple of sheets or whatever, and then it'll be around for a minute, and then it's poof, it's gone for a little while.
It goes fast.
He says weed wasn't around all the time either. He said later weed was around everywhere, but he wasn't really into weed. He said he made him paranoid. He didn't like it, which is funny when you hear about his drug selection later on. You're like, weed made you paranoid, but that shit's okay. Great. He said, I probably did acid 50 times, and it was fucking torture, is his line here. He said, to this day, I don't know why I did it, because it was never fun. I guess it was the power of numbers, the power of the group. There'd be 5 of us, say, and 3 of us wanted to do it, so the other 2 would go along with it. We'd end up laughing at other people's torture, sick shit like that. It usually lasted about 3 hours, and at the end, you'd be begging for it to end. The only that's shit acid, 3 hours.
50 times, and it was awful every time?
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Who keeps doing it?
I did it. It was probably great about 90% of the time. It was good.
50 times 50 bad, though, James.
Bad. I don't know what he's thinking. He said the only good thing about it was that it didn't smell and get all over your clothes, so that when you went home, you didn't get into trouble. If your parents never looked at your pupils, which are the size of nickels, you'd be fine. He said it was $5 for a tab, which, yes, back then it was. And if it was around, we'd all do it, but we'd had some horrible experiences with it. One night, we were in this tiny apartment on Bay Street, and there were 2 tasers in the room. This is just like a Northeast thing. It's weird. By the end of the night, the walls were dripping, and we were shooting each other with taser guns. You would have never know. You never know when a shot was coming. It was vicious. We were tortured souls. I saw kids crumble on acid. They would break down right before your eyes, all curled up, wailing, begging for help, crying their eyes out. You'd hear about bad trips, horror stories. Yeah, right, we'd say. Then we started seeing them. One night we gave each other homemade tattoos with razor blades.
Oh, Jesus.
Never did that when I was on acid.
But were the taser guns, were they like the actual guns with like the harpoons, or were they like the handheld taser guns?
No, I think back then it's the ones where the things shoot out, the prongs shoot out. Yeah, that's what they're shooting.
On fishing line.
Yeah, that's what they're shooting each other with. So he said, I still have a scar on my chest from that night, the homemade tattoo night. Another night, I ended up hiding in the sand dunes at Horseneck Beach with no idea what I was hiding from. Jesus Christ. This is, I don't know if this is it a northeast thing to really torture your friends? Is
I don't know.
Because like,
but if you ever did acid and then wound up in the sand dunes hiding from something you don't even know you're hiding from, would you ever do acid again? That's stupid.
No, probably not. That's the thing. I mean, I had a couple that were, on the edge, but it was like, it was okay. I never was like, I'm hiding in the dunes and I don't know what's happening here. Like when you were a kid, did you guys like shoot each other with pellet guns and shit?
I mean, there were pellet guns around, but I don't remember. I remember people shooting them at us, but I don't remember a lot of people getting hit.
Oh, okay. We were shooting.
There's a lot of bad shots.
Did you do birthday beatings? Was that a thing in Arizona?
Oh yeah, birthday beatdowns. Those were
where you'd
very
have like
common.
12 of your friends beat the shit out of you. That was
beat the fuck out of each other.
I like that one. That was always fun. So that's what kids do. If you wonder the teenage boys, what's wrong with them? Look at what we're doing. We're
right.
We beat the shit out of
freeze paintballs and shoot each other.
Oh yeah, whatever hurts, whatever's bad and can hurt another friend of yours. Nothing you could do is more fun than hurting one of your friends for some reason. I don't know why that is.
Trying your best to make your friend cry and then he doesn't is the greatest.
It's perfect. So now we need to talk about Heather, who was Heather Gray at the time. Heather is a down chick, we'll just say, because Heather goes through hell. She's like Karen Hill from Goodfellas, for fuck's sake, and she just
ride or die
hangs in there and sticks around. You're like, wow, this lady. I mean, she's honestly up for a Golden Gilretha right off the bat for 2022. She's right there. She said that he said they met in 6th grade on a playground. So that's how long they knew each other. He said she was by far the cutest girl I'd ever seen, and from the start I was in love with her, even though I put gum in her hair that day. So that's how he said.
His torture was not what is it?
Reserved for men?
For his friends? Yeah.
He said that should have been the first red flag for her. And it really should have, because her whole life will be picking gum out of her hair, basically, with Chris. That's her. It's just a whole life of gum picking, man. He said that he said they'd go out in high school for a while, then they'd break up, they'd get back together, that sort of thing. That was what they did. He said that she came from a much more stable family, and she knew that he was kind of spinning out. He said she never cared about his basketball, and that he liked a lot. With her, he wasn't a basketball player. He was just a guy, so he dug that. She said he said they went to the prom together. She was homecoming queen, a cheerleader, all that shit. So just like he's following right in his dad's footsteps. Exactly the same thing.
Except for that gum bit.
Except for the gum bit. Well, maybe. We never know. Now, the Coach Karam, he says, quote, I always knew Coach Karam. I knew him before I met him. I had gone to his camp as a young kid, so I knew all about his screaming and yelling and his swearing, although that never bothered us because this was Fall River. Everyone swore. Right. And one of the guys in the Fall River Dreams books, this was an ex-player, he says, quote, there is an entire Fall River rap, a language they've been speaking for 30 years. Fuck is a verb, a noun, an adjective, an adverb, and the all-purpose word.
Right.
It's just how it is. So that's
Father down at the church, he says it. Open your fucking Bibles.
They do. That's the thing. This fucking bum over here, everybody just talks like that. It's the same in New York. It's just how people talk. It's just.
And then fucking Mary had a baby.
Yeah, you'll go get a sandwich and the guy will be like, "That's talking to this fucking guy earlier," and it's like, in Arizona that would be a big like, what the shit?
Yeah.
In New York, it's fine. You're like, oh yeah, you're talking to this what fucking guy? Oh yeah, that fucking guy. I know that fucking guy.
Does he fucking live?
Where does he fucking live? That fucking bastard.
Where's he fucking from with that fucking behavior?
I'm telling you, these fucking fucks. I'm making a fuck
Mary
sandwich.
Had a fucking baby. Nobody fucked her.
Nobody fucked her. I don't know what happened. So another time they're on a bus and they couldn't find one of the kids, Danny Callahan. Jesus Christ, you'd be more Irish than any of these kids. He said, the coach said, quote, where's Callahan? And one of the kids said he went back to get his uniform. And a few minutes later, he showed up, and the guy said, quote, way to go, Danny. This is the coach. Way to go, Danny. You don't get any rebounds, then you lose your uniform and keep everybody waiting. A great night. You're a pisser, Danny, a real pisser. So
your uniform.
So that's how they say it. So Chris said that he yelled from the back of the bus, "Mr. Karam, you know there's no such word as pisser. It's not in the dictionary." So he said, quote, "Sure is, Chrissy. You look it up in your pictures there." That's what the coach told him. Chrissy. Yeah. He called him Chrissy.
Yeah, of course.
Which is hilarious. Of course he called him Chrissy. Chrissy! Hey, Chrissy! Dunk the ball, Chrissy. So, oh boy. So college recruiting comes around, and he said it started basically the summer before his freshman year of high school. He was already being recruited by colleges. He said he was at the Villanova camp. On the last day, someone left a new pair of sneakers outside of his room. Like, that was his first,
awesome.
Oh, wow. Yeah. The next summer, he said letters from various schools started coming. He said, quote, "By my junior year, it was flat out crazy. As a sophomore, I was named All-Scholastic by the Boston Globe. The only sophomores to do that before me were my brother and Patrick Ewing." So he's in pretty good company. He said, "I spent the summer before my junior year playing for the Boston Amateur Basketball Club, an AAU team run by a guy named Leo Papille, who works for the Celtics as a personnel guy later on." So he's a guy who's in there. He said that everyone from Ewing to Dana Barros, this guy had, picked out and knew about early on. He said that, he coached the team, and Papille later became assistant director of basketball operations for the Celtics there. And the Leo guy said, quote, "There was no one better in the nation in high school as a combo guard. He could run a team, tough as nails, shoot the long ball. He had great instincts and a feel for the game. He could run pick and rolls. He has an NBA resume." So right away, this guy who knows his shit. Then the Boston Globe ran it was a local newspaper, ran a 3-part series called, quote, "The Courtship of Chris Herren." And this was all about what college he's going to go to, where is he visiting, who wants him. I guess Kentucky and Duke wanted him. Florida wanted him, all these different teams here. The letters came to the coach's mailbox like crazy. He said places he never heard of. He said there was notes from coaches and pamphlets and all this type of shit. The coach said, quote, "There must be 20 pieces every day, and maybe 2 of them are for me." The secretaries in the office said they're going to switch the name on the box from Karam to Herren. Kentucky, North Carolina, and Duke haven't contacted him yet, but just about everyone else has, and they end up contacting him eventually. He said that the coach was constantly after him to get the letters out of his office and take them home, but he just didn't. That was all it was. He was just like, I don't know, who cares? That's all. Whatever.
Must be nice.
Yeah, one scout said of him, quote, called him the toughest kid on any block. He said right now he lacks the ability to score from the outside, and part of that is a macho thing, the need to always take the ball to the basket. But he has a tremendous will to win. If Chris Herren had been a Jesuit priest in the 16th century in upstate New York, the Iroquois would have cut his heart out and eaten it for courage. What? Jesus, that's pretty fucking specific. My God,
that's a guy that just learned about the Jesuit and can't wait to tell you about it.
He read a book, he's been reading it the last 3 days, and he's like, yeah, it's just like, the Jesuit priest with the Iroquois in the 16th century. And people are like, the fuck are you talking about? Everybody knows about them, right?
They ate hearts for courage. You guys never heard of this?
What the fuck? Oh, you fucking bums.
Where you know
from? You know what I'm talking about. Bring your uniform. Let's go. So, he said that they got beat in a Christmas tournament there. He went in the locker room, threw his all-tournament team trophy into a trash can. And he said, you don't bring second place into his house. Sure. And he said, years later, I ran into someone from Newport, and they still remembered it. They remembered me as the punk kid who threw the trophy in the trash can. So he said there was a scuffle with some kids from Silver Lake after a high school hockey game in Fall River, and it got me suspended for school for 5 days, and it was all over the Fall River Herald News. So really? If you're in high school and you getting suspended from school is in the newspaper, that's weird.
You're a big deal, too.
You're a big deal, yeah. This happens to a lot of our subjects here. And that, no one gave a shit if we got suspended. No one, our parents barely cared. Never mind. Fucking
it didn't make the paper because it was expected.
Yeah, he's an idiot. Of course he did that.
Right.
Kid's a jerk off. Jesus Christ. Has he been fitted for a sledgehammer yet? Jesus Christ. Has he taken the SAT?
We're not telling him when the SATs are. Of course he got suspended.
Yeah, no shit. He said that he went to an AAU tournament in Vegas, and that's where before his senior year, and all the biggest coaches in the country were there, and that's when they really saw him, and that's when it really stepped up the drive to get him to go to different colleges. He ends up finishing his career with a total, his high school career, of 2,073 points, which is the new record. He broke his brother's record in his last game with Durfee. So,
the last game. It's a big deal.
Right? So him and his brother are pretty much exactly the same in scoring. He's also named the Boston Globe and Gatorade Player of the Year in all of high school in America. And he was also named to the McDonald's All-America team.
What year is this?
This is 94. So he is blue chip as blue chip gets at this point.
Right.
And on top of that, for basketball, and especially a kid in Boston, he's also got the advantage of being a great white basketball player, which in Boston, that's kind of a big deal because I don't know why they want to watch white guys play or care who the fuck they're watching play. As far as I'd like to watch people who can score well and win games. I don't give a shit.
Fuck what color they are.
I don't care if their heads come out of their asses. I just want to see the fucking Knicks win a championship. That's it. I don't care. I don't give a fuck who's playing for them. I don't care. If they want to get 12 Chinese guys, bring them over here, run the table. I'm a huge fan of everybody. Jing Sao, you're my man. I don't give a fuck, dude. I don't care. I'll root for anybody. Anybody.
I don't care if they buy all the best players. Get all of the Warriors to go to New York.
Great.
I'll watch as long as they win.
Good. Just the good ones. So there you go. So he is as blue chip as it gets.
Draymond Green and his nut kicking. Fuck
yeah. Never mind them. Never
fucking
mind
hate
them.
him.
Jesus Christ. But let's just say right here, grace. This is grace right here. I mean, it doesn't get.
It's a pretty great grace, though.
It's better than I ever had. So, I mean, I got to give him credit. So, but it'll get worse here for him. Now, he chooses to go to Boston College.
Of course he does.
The local school, and he said he wanted to go there because it's close to home. Mm-hmm. And also his brother Michael went to Boston College, which is like, you'd seem like you wouldn't want to go there for that reason, but he does. His brother Michael says, quote, "At one point my father voiced concern that Boston College might be too close to Fall River. His fear was that my friends would always be coming around. That was certainly a legitimate fear, but when I heard it, I flipped out." This is Chris talking. "My father and I verbally got into it a little bit, and I got all upset and stormed out of the house." He said that Michael said that Michael ended up leaving Boston College, never finishing there. He didn't pan out the way he was supposed to pan out.
It wasn't that he got out and declared for the draft. He just quit.
No, he just quit. Yeah, he said that he never felt comfortable there. He said, quote, "I left because my basketball career was in jeopardy because of injuries I had and because the media pressure was becoming too stifling. Everything I did was in the paper, it seemed. I was 18, 19 years old going through that. I wasn't a senator, someone 35. I was still a baby. I want to set the record straight about those troubles. I do not have a police record. For now, we'll talk about Michael a little more later. I lived life on the edge for a 17-year-old. I definitely did, but I wasn't the only one doing it. Maybe I shouldn't have been drinking as much as I was for an 18-year-old, or fighting as much. I shouldn't have put myself in those tough situations. I'm not going to tell Chris not to go out and have a good time. I'm not going to tell him not to enjoy his high school experience. What I can tell him is to not test fate. If you test fate, you're going to get burned. I tested fate a little too much." So that's his advice there.
He was hip-hop's biggest mogul, the man who redefined fame, fortune, and the music industry.
The first male rapper to be honored on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Sean Diddy Combs.
Diddy built an empire and lived a life most people only dream about.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But just as quickly as his empire rose, it came crashing down.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I made no excuses. I'm disgusted. I'm so sorry.
Until you're wearing an orange jumpsuit, it's not real. Now it's real.
From his meteoric rise to his shocking fall from grace, from law and crime, this is the rise and fall of Diddy. Listen to the rise and fall of Diddy exclusively with Wondery Plus.
Behind the closed doors of government offices and military compounds, there are hidden stories and buried secrets from the darkest corners of history. From covert experiments pushing the boundaries of science to operations so secretive they were barely whispered about. Each week, on Redacted, Declassified Mysteries, we pull back the curtain on these hidden histories. 100% true and verifiable stories that expose the shadowy underbelly of power. Consider Operation Paperclip, where former Nazi scientists were brought to America after World War II, not as prisoners, but as assets to advance U.S. intelligence during the Cold War. These aren't just old conspiracy theories. They're thoroughly investigated accounts that reveal the uncomfortable truths still shaping our world today. The stories are real. The secrets are shocking. Follow Redacted, Declassified Mysteries on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Redacted early and ad-free right now on Wondery Plus.
First brother,
the saying goes?
Don't test fate. I don't know. I mean,
or you're going to get burned?
No, that's not the way. No, he made that one up.
Yeah, he did. That's a Herren right there.
I give him credit because the word "fuck" was nowhere in there, so right. I give him credit for that right off the bat. Yeah. He's did well at BC. Taught him something. So he says he goes to Boston College. Chris does, and he said he was not prepared at all for college. Like he didn't do shit in high school grades wise.
Yeah, but how can you really be prepared for college? There's really no preparing you for that.
No.
You're going from a place where the government pays for the school to a place where now it's on you or a scholarship. But either way, your behavior here decides whether or not you stick around. In high school, no kid left behind. They're not going to just fucking throw you out forever unless you're a real piece of shit.
16, yeah. Unless you're 16, then they're like, go away. No, but this, though, it's, I don't know, man. This is a weird one here. They're going to keep him around, and they're going to. Yeah, I see what you're saying though. So, but he's not. Some kids are more prepared than others, though. Like this kid never even thought about like class or college, or he didn't even know when the SATs were.
Right.
Kids that know like when the SATs are probably a little better prepared for college than
you're probably right. Yeah.
Kids who don't know.
They've toured the campus already.
Yeah, it's not. That's what I mean. It's not like one kid is like knows exactly what's going on, and the other kid knows nothing. But it's degrees of it, I think.
Yeah.
He says, quote, I didn't have any structure. I didn't have any study habits. I didn't have any discipline to even get up in the morning, never mind be a college student. I'd been sliding through school since the beginning, and now I was in a real school and woefully unprepared to be there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He said at first he was like sleeping on other people's couches. What? And the coach asked him what he was doing, and the coach said, what's the problem, Chris? Why aren't you in your room? And he said, what's the problem? I'm living in a 10x10 room with a 6'10" Canadian who has vampire posters on the wall, who has Bruce Lee posters. That's the problem. You expect me to live with a room full of vampire pictures on the wall?
Is that hard?
I guess so. He doesn't want to be there. So he's Boston College. I mean, think about this. He's been prepped his whole life for this. Boston College right here. I mean, this is everything. First game, okay? He's in the game. He's got 14 points in the first 21 minutes of this. So he's doing well. Looks like this is going to work out really well. And then I'll let him tell it. Quote, then I got hurt in my first game, falling on my left wrist in the second half and breaking it. So, fuck. It was a home game against Cal Poly, and when I went down, I knew it was serious. I had scored 14 points by then and was having a good game, but after that, I knew I was fucked. Basketball was my only chance of getting me through Boston College, the only thing that gave me any focus at all. Without it, it was just a matter of time. Quote, then I found cocaine.
What?
That's the quote. Said without it was just a matter of time. Then I found cocaine. So
what he sped up that time.
He's hurt and he's bored, and he doesn't have any basketball to be a central point of structure in his life. So he's like, I did find cocaine though, so that was there. So yeah, that's by the way, that is he'll play 14 or 21 minutes at Boston College. He plays exactly. Yeah, 1/2 of a game at Boston College.
Wow.
His wrist is broken. He's out for the rest of the year with the broken wrist. Totally fucked. And then we'll find out what happens here. He said, I'd always been afraid of cocaine, had never seen it in Fall River. I was afraid of it because of Len Bias. And that scared the shit out of a lot of kids of like our generation.
Sure.
Was seeing that because Len Bias was like, I mean, he was fucking beast. He was, I mean, he was more of a surefire bet than Michael Jordan was a couple years before it. I mean, there was no doubt he was going to be a monster. And then he gets drafted, if you don't know the Len. But we're going to do a bonus on this one of these days, by the way. But if you don't know the story, he was drafted number 1 overall. And then the night of the draft, he had a cocaine overdose and died. And he was like this
the
strong...
horrifying part is that obviously it's a waste of talent and what could have been, all that shit. But they frame it as if that's the one and only time he ever did coke and it ruined everything.
They frame it as he went to party, he did one line of coke, his heart exploded onto the walls. All over the faces of the people around him.
Right.
Hole in his chest.
Inside out, it led bias.
Yeah. Fell to the ground, crumbled, and then disintegrated like the Wicked Witch of the West. That's what they made it sound like.
Len Bias probably had a problem.
He was probably doing it once in a while, and he had a heart problem anyway, so whatever. He was a different kind of case. But, like, you know...
It horrified everybody, though.
I believed that he did the coke for the one time and his heart exploded. Jesus Christ. Like, that's what I thought when I was, 9. That's what they told us all. So he thought the same thing. He said, because of that, I wanted no part of cocaine. Then he says, quote, but there it was one night in a dorm room on offer by a guy and a girl. Do you want some? The guy asked. No. Come on, he said. Try it. I hesitated. Just put it on your gums, the girl said. Then he says, I was off and running. I never wanted to put cocaine down.
Yeah.
Jesus, some people...
Oh, that's what this is. This is great.
Some people love coke. They just love it. They get it, and that's what I've been looking for. It's
right.
You know your vice when you get it. That's the thing. And when you find that thing, don't do it anymore. When you find the thing where you go, this is what I've been looking for, never do that again. And you'll be fine. I really feel like
this
that.
This is what's going to control my life forever.
Oh, man. This is going to completely destroy me. I love it. So he said he never wanted to put it down. Everyone else would be coming home at 1, 2 in the morning, shutting it down. And I'd be making that one more call, knocking on someone's door, looking to keep it going. I couldn't stop. Did I know what I was doing? I didn't care. I would go to bed with my heart racing. Eventually it would slow down and I'd fall asleep. Over St. Patrick's Day that year, I went to South Boston to see the parade, and I saw the clock go around twice. I got back to my dorm, lay on the floor, my heart beating so fast my shirt was going up and down. I thought I was going to die. But it was all about keeping the party going.
He went for 24 hours.
Just fucking 24 hours hanging out on coke. He said cocaine extended the night. I never did it without drinking first, but 8 or 9 beers didn't do it for me. I'd be swaying back and forth. I wasn't a good drunk. I wasn't content with that. I needed more of a bite, more bark. Cocaine is a very revealing drug. There was no filter, at least not for me. I'd end up telling some stupid girl that I used to wet the bed as a kid. Crazy shit. You end up talking about the most intimate things in a room full of strangers. You never know what was going to happen with cocaine, but for me it all started with alcohol. Yeah, coke makes you, people just talk mad shit on coke about, anytime you're talking to someone who's on coke, you're like, well, none of this matters.
Yeah.
Nothing this person's saying is
If that's a
important.
thing where you just start revealing intimate shit, that's a drug for people. The most intimate thing they have to reveal is that they pissed the bed when they were 4. You know what I mean?
Shit.
I don't want to reveal the shit I've got to reveal.
No shit, man. Jesus Christ. No, not at all. I don't want to let that out.
Yeah.
So he said the coach, O'Brien, was always bringing me into his office. They used to drug test us sporadically at Boston College. Now, while he was injured, he failed 2 tests for marijuana already. Okay. So he's failed 2 tests. If you failed 3, you were ineligible for an entire year. So, of course, he was very concerned with that. He was also very concerned with my schoolwork or lack of it. So one day he brought me into the office of Chad Gladchuck. Chet Gladchuck? That sounds made up. That sounds like a Dan Aykroyd character in a movie that they made up. How you doing there? That's, what's his name? Chuck? Fuck is his name now? I lost his, Chet Gladchuck. Nice to meet you.
From Chet's Chuck House.
It's, you know.
Chet's Chuck Wagon.
You know him, Chuck Wagon. Chuck Chet House. You know him. Chuck Chet Chuck. You know him. You know the guy. So he was the Boston College athletic director. So he's the guy in charge. The coach is in charge, but the AD is actually in charge. Right. So He said that he was one of those no-nonsense guys who looked like he should have been in the military. His kid was a freshman walking around the campus in polo shirts with the collar up, all prepped out. And I already had 2 run-ins with him, had already threatened him twice. He already threatened the guy twice. So me and Gladchuck didn't have a whole lot of good karma between us. Gladchuck said, we're going to try to help you. And he said, tell me the names of your classes and teachers. I couldn't do it. The only thing I knew was that one of my teachers was a nun.
Holy shit.
What classes are you in? I don't fucking know. Who are your teachers? I think one of them's a nun. I don't know. You know that one? She dresses like a nun, you know.
You have 8 classes, sir. You can only tell me that one might have been a nun? Yeah, that's what I got.
He said, quote, the guy said, what's her name? He said, I don't know. I finally said, Sister something.
Sister Christian. You know her?
You know Sister Christian? You know her. She knows the time is right, you know.
She knows the price for flight, sir.
She knows it. So he said by this time the guy was tired of him. He'd done everything he could. Nothing worked. He said, I went out all night in Boston clubs. I'd been there for 7 months, but I knew more about Mary Ann's, the bar near campus, and Copperfield's near Fenway Park than I did about Boston College. I had crossed worlds. I wasn't hanging with students anymore. I was with people in Kenmore Square, people all over the city, and cocaine was everywhere. I never had to pay for it, and if it was around, I was going to use it. That's just the way it was, the way it had become. I knew it was all fucked up, but this was my life, going out and sleeping all day. If I was powerless to stop it, I had stopped going to class a long time ago. I couldn't play basketball. I was a total delinquent, and I knew the gig was up. So then he got called by the coach again, and they said, quote, Chris, you're doing cocaine now? Because he failed a drug test there.
Oh, Jesus.
So, yeah. So he's done at Boston College. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's done. 1 game, 21 minutes, 14 points. Total Killed Boston College life. So he transfers to Fresno State.
Really?
Yes.
Is that in California?
Yeah, it actually is. If you can consider Fresno in California, yeah.
Fresno State in Nebraska.
Yeah, it's Fresno State of North Dakota. You know where it is. Yeah, it's up by the border with Canada. So this was after Jerry Tarkanian had his problems at UNLV and went to Fresno State to try to start over again.
Really?
So Tark recruited him. He's Tark's first guy that he brings in is this guy. God. So, yeah, he said
You've got a problem down there that looks really bad. And you're going to rebuild and pick one of the biggest fucking busts in college history?
Well, yeah, but Fresno State isn't like a... Well, yeah, that's how Tark is, though. Tark wants the guys who have a bad reputation.
Yeah.
He's like Al Davis is what he was doing, looking for that. That's why UNLV was so good, though. UNLV, there's a lot of guys people didn't want to have anything to do with.
If you win, though... That's what it is. You've got nothing to lose there. If you win, you look like a fucking genius. If you lose, people just go, we knew this was going to happen.
Exactly. That's why Fresno State's good for him, too. Tark played at Fresno State. He's from there. This is like his hometown. So he was going home to rebuild, basically.
Okay.
It was the only place that would give him a chance. Chris said that it was a short trip from San Francisco in a little airplane, and the airport was in the middle of nowhere surrounded by farmland. I felt like I was on the moon. So
it's
Fresno. Looks a lot different than Boston, too, Fresno, if you might understand.
Yeah.
He talks about the school when he got there. He goes, it just looked like industrial buildings, like these plain buildings. And he's like, it didn't look like the colleges in New York, like when we went to New York and Sarah drove by Vassar College, she was like, that's not a school. Are you fucking kidding me? It's these giant stone ornate, it's fucking 250 years old. So it's this crazy thing, and it doesn't look like that.
University of Chicago is fucking insane.
Yes.
I went there for my ex-wife's brother's wedding. I was blown away. I was like, this exists for education? In Phoenix, this would be a fucking museum. This is amazing.
Museum or like the oldest church in town or something.
Right.
Like this is like, East Coast, all the schools are these giant old institutions that are these brick
ivy growing all over them.
Yeah. Out west, they're just trailers that it's like a strip mall that they took all the Home Depot badging off of, and now it's a college. That's what it looks like.
Throw a copper dome on something and call it the auditorium.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there you go. Get in there. So he said that he Will McDonough, who's the sports reporter for the Boston Globe, he's a very famous guy. He said that he told basically they did a story on him of why he left Boston College. That he failed 3 drug tests, the cocaine, missing classes, all that type of shit. And he said that Boston College was pissed off at them and all that sort. It was pissed off at him, and they wanted to get even with him and shit. So he ended up going there. He had to sit out a year because he transferred. If you transfer, you have to sit out a year. That's how it works. So I guess that's college's way of trying to control you so you can't go somewhere else, God forbid. Yeah. You'll have to sit out a year.
The other point is that he's still got a limp wrist at the moment.
That too. Well, I think by the beginning of his sophomore year, he was healthy again, but he just wasn't allowed to play. He said the team he was on was basically all the holdovers from the old coaching regime. He said that most of the players on the team were gang members. So he said literally there was like 4 Crips and 4 Bloods, and then like a couple other people. But he was definitely the only white guy on the team, he said. But he said,
old Coke nose over here.
An old fuck, the whitest nose in town over here. He said that it was weird because they would get along on the team, but like they'd score a basket and flash gang signs at each other on the same team. Where he was like, I didn't get that. Like what? That was a weird thing. Like, why is the center flashing a gang sign to our small forward? Like what the hell is that about?
Why'd the center just scream Pyru at our point guard?
Yeah, he was very like confused by that shit because also that's very West Coast stuff. Like in the East Coast, it's different. So he was like, I never was around any of that before. I didn't know. That's not like city kids in Boston. It's a different thing. He said that Lamar Odom went to visit on a recruiting visit at Fresno State.
Really?
Yeah, he said, quote, I picked him up at LAX in a rental car, and we got into an accident before we even got out of the parking lot, which is... That's hilarious. Now, October 11th, 1995, there's an incident at Black Angus, of all places.
Okay.
The old Black Angus. He said, we were at a restaurant a few miles from campus called the Black Angus. Listen, he doesn't need that big of a description. And
we're at a shit quote-unquote steakhouse.
I was going to say, and you're using the word restaurant pretty loosely. Like, it's a restaurant, but it's like, I love when people talk about, like, they'll be talking about, like, something happened in a Burger King, and they'll be like, the gentleman came out of the restaurant, and it's like, calm down. It's not a restaurant. I mean, technically they sell food and you can eat it there, but let's not call it a restaurant. So, Black Angus is... Your server said, would you like fries with that from behind a counter? That's not a restaurant. It's not a restaurant. So he said he got in an argument with a wrestler. A bouncer got involved. And, quote, before I knew what was happening, it spilled out into the parking lot and a SWAT team had shown up.
Black Angus has a bouncer? Jesus.
A bouncer at the Black Angus. I don't know if this was not one of the chain Black Anguses or something, maybe. Maybe it wasn't.
Maybe not. Maybe because it's called the Black Angus. Maybe back then there was only one.
This was the one. This is where it all started, everybody. He said it was all over the media going out on the national wire because it was Jerry Tarkanian's team and all that sort of shit. And that his assistant coach, who was his son, Danny Tarkanian, was also there. It was him and 3 players, Terrence Roberson, James Gray, and Chris Herren. And they were all detained at gunpoint by police there. Apparently, Chris is 20, and he'd been drinking in the establishment, even though he's underage. Yeah. Police respond here at 1 o'clock in the morning to the Black Angus. Who the hell is hanging out till 1 in the morning at a Black Angus? They are responding to, quote, a man with a handgun out front causing a disturbance. What? That's something. As police normally will respond to that. Yeah. So he said that this is Danny Tarkanian said that he got into an argument with two African-American males. Herren said that he wasn't asked to show any identification to get into the bar, and he only had a couple of beers. Yeah, Tarkanian says, I'll just quote him. This is from the newspaper. Tarkanian, who was also at the bar at the time, told police that the 2 individuals who were African-American said to Herren, hey, white boy, you need to respect us. Tarkanian said he tried to calm Herren down and told him to leave. Tarkanian said that he loaned Herren his cellular phone to get a ride. Herren called Roberson, Gray, and 2 of their friends. Not getting a ride, he called backup. He called his teammates to come back him up. Corey Wilson and Corey Chandler are the 2 of their friends. The 4 arrived about 45 minutes later, and Tarkanian said he thought Herren had left when a bouncer told him a guy in a hat outside wants to see you, who was Herren. He said, quote, 2 other guys started yelling at Chris. I grabbed him and told him to get out of here, but then the 2 guys kept antagonizing. I told the bouncers that. I got Chris and the other guys in the car, and then the police came up. That's the story. That's the official silver-haired version of the story.
But somebody brought a gun.
Well, that's the thing. They said they thought that somebody had a gun. Okay. Roberson, who's one of the players, he said that Wilson had his hands in the front of his pants. That's Corey Wilson, one of his friends. He said he had his hands in the front of his pants. He said that people there, then subsequently the police, thought that he had a handgun because of that. So Chris says, quote, we were in our car just ready to leave when all of a sudden, boom, 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 cops everywhere. They had guns. I mean, sawed-off shotguns, all that kind of stuff. They made us get on our knees. So
sawed-off shotguns. They just had shotguns.
Yeah, I was going to say the cops don't saw shotguns off. Probably you get stopped by the
cops. Showed up with fucking pistols with the numbers etched off.
Yeah,
it was nuts.
The cereal scratched off. That shit was crazy. So the crazy part here is that Tarkanian was found by police to be not fit to drive, so they just gave him a ride home. The coach. So there's a lot of. Yeah, there's a lot of
privilege.
Well, coach fucking Tarkanian sports privilege. It's not fucking. If he was a black coach on this team too, they would have done the same thing. Yeah, it's it's just you're in Fresno, which has nothing except this. So, that's what it is. It's just a matter of.
Tark is the most popular person from here ever.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I mean. He came back. He walks on water right now. Like, they're not going to arrest his son. They just give him a ride home. The police said they didn't give him any special treatment. They just gave him a ride home because, why not? We're nice guys. So the Black Angus manager said that it's the restaurant's policy not to allow people into the bar that are under 21 after 9 p.m., and he doesn't know what happened, but he's conducting his own investigation into this disturbance. Yeah. This is the Black Angus manager. He's going to get to the bottom of this. The players and the coach were all released with no charge. No charges are filed here at all. But he is on athletic probation after this incident. They place him on probation, and he's referred to the assistance program for students to some counseling program he's got to take now. So 96-97, he actually plays for Fresno State. Plays in 32 games, averages 17.5 a game. 2.3 rebounds, 4.6 assists.
Still got it.
It's pretty fucking good. Yeah, that's not bad. 97-98, there's rumors that he's giving tips to gamblers.
Oh.
Not only rumors, there are articles in the newspaper about it.
Oh, shit.
And we'll talk about that because he has a legal response to that. He said, quote, this is his version, quote, all that stuff got blown up into something it never was. There were so many rumors. People were saying my phone was tapped. I had reporters outside my apartment. There had always been cameras and sports writers at practice. Now there was a whole other level of reporters every day. Then one day I was called to the president's office and 4 FBI agents were there in their dark suits and narrow ties. We know you know things, one of them said. We want to help you, another one said. I paused and said, quote, I want a lawyer. Why did I say that? I knew it from TV and movies. I knew I shouldn't be in a room with 4 FBI agents without someone looking out for my best interests. I never heard from those 4 agents again. So that's how that worked. Something bigger for him pops up, and then that'll come back later, the alleged point shaving thing. So November 1997, he comes out and has a press conference. There's an announcement saying that he is leaving the Fresno State basketball team to go to rehab. He says that he has, quote, slipped up in his fight against substance abuse. And by the way, I don't think he's passed a drug test since he's been at Fresno State. They just ignore it. Like they said he said the truth was I had failed innumerable drug tests at Fresno. They were constantly testing me. Wow. That's what he said. He's always failing them. He said, I was always in some kind of program. Everybody in the athletic department was aware of it. I went to an outpatient treatment center at Fresno called Cedar Vista. I went to counselors. I went to therapists. The people at Fresno State tried to help me, maybe too much. No, they tried to help you while keeping you on the court because it was for them. That's a silver thing to do, is what that is. Well, the kid's got a problem. Well, get him in an outpatient thing because he's got practice at 2.
Yeah.
That's what that is. That's
see his
bullshit.
points per game. Get him help.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean, it's nice to want to keep it low key so the whole national media doesn't crawl up his ass on top of it, but I don't think that's what it was about. He says that they hired people. One day, a pastor knocked on the door and said he wanted to talk. Former players talked to me. One counselor was great. I saw him on and off for 2.5 years. So the press conference was right before Thanksgiving, and he said that his mom and his grandfather had flown out for the game because it was a game against UMass. So, fly on out. And he said, quote, I've battled a personal problem for the past 4 years. It's a winnable problem, but I've had a setback, so I'm stepping away from basketball, from the basketball program at Fresno State for a few weeks. I hope to rejoin them soon, blah, blah, blah. So the school is thrilled with it. They said, quote, it takes quite a bit of courage for this young man to let people know he's stepping down for this period, for this reason. He should be commended for that. He's not afraid to admit that something has happened, and he wants to work through it. Okay, fine. Fair. Very, very supportive here. He said he was in Utah at the rehab for 23 days. He said, I was one of the youngest people there, and, he said it was basically boring. They would shake their heads and say, what's wrong with you? These were people, he said, that they'd lost their homes and families and jobs. And
these are people with lifetime problems.
Yeah.
And you've got a problem for 4 years and you can't shake it, you little fuck.
Well, they're looking at him going, you got the world by the balls, and what are you doing?
Right.
Just stop, stupid.
I got a day job, 4 kids, and a wife I fucking hate. That's why I do it.
I drank because I'm miserable. That's why I drank. What's your
You're
fucking
doing it because
problem?
you're having fun.
Yeah, too much fun. So, he says that he said they keep. This is about the point shaving. At the same time, he said they keep saying the investigation is picking up steam. He says, I want to know, when is the steamboat going to pull out? And then he says, don't sing it, bring it. That's what he tells the reporters. What? So if there's evidence, bring it out. Charge me with something. But otherwise, fuck you. That year, he averages 15.6 points a game and 4.8 assists a game. Not bad. May 16th, 1998, he's got some legal troubles. He faces an arrest warrant for failing to appear in traffic court last month. He pleads guilty to 2 violations and agrees to pay a $100 fine. Big deal. It was a traffic violations from December 1995. He's cited for running a stop sign and driving an unregistered vehicle.
3 years old, fucking fines, and he didn't. What?
Right? What are you doing?
Takes 3 years to take care of that?
Yeah, apparently so. So things are, kind of a little bit precarious for him at this point. Not solid ground. So what's the best thing he should do right now? What do you think is...
Move back home.
Well, no. They'll go to another rule. What's up?
Drop out. Go back home.
No, you got to get married now, Jimmy. This is the time you get married.
He's going to... Who the fuck's he going to marry?
Heather. He's marrying Heather.
She moved to Fresno with him?
Yeah, he's been talking to her back and forth, and he decides that he needs Heather. Also, she's pregnant as well, so it's a good time to do that. The child will be born the following March, and it's a son.
Yeah,
it's a son, Jimmy. Chris Jr. Chris Jr. Motherfucker.
Of course
you knew
it
was coming. He just. In this mess, he could not name his kid Junior. There's no way it wasn't going to happen as bad as things are going right now.
I don't understand how he loves himself so much.
Chris Jr. Yep. They got married at a church in Somerset, Massachusetts, across from Fall River. Heather grew up there. He said they invited 150 people to the reception, and 300 showed up.
Wow.
So, big party. He said the bar eventually ran out of beer. Then we went to the Coliseum, and they ran out of beer, too. So they really...
We invited 150, and 300 people found out we have Coke.
Yeah, found out we have Coke, and 300 Bostonians can literally drink any place out of beer. That's just going to happen. He said we were supposed to go to Cape Cod the next day for our honeymoon to a ritzy resort called the Chatham Bars Inn. But not only did we not know what Chatham Bars Inn was, we didn't know the way to the Cape. We were 2 kids with no clue. I had to call my father and ask him how to get to the Cape, even though it was only an hour away. What the fuck?
Jump on the highway, dipshit.
Yeah. So he said, though, at this point, things are completely different. She moves back to Fresno with him. He says he dabbles with painkillers, as we'll talk about, but things calm down totally. He doesn't go out all night and do coke and do all that shit. He said basically once he went out, he couldn't stop. He said, once I drank, there was a 90% chance I'd do cocaine. And once I started on coke, it was going to get ugly.
Oh, my God.
He's one of those guys. He said it was also the summer we discovered pain pills. This is the team, he said. Vicodin, Percocet. We're always going to hospital emergency rooms on the ride to L.A. trying to get some pills. We told them anything, toothache, any kind of ache. Sometimes we'd hit 3 or 4 on the ride to get pills. Anything to get fucked up out of our heads. Kevin, one of the guys, was a master of getting drugs this way. He looked about 16, his sweet choir boy face, no one could say no to him. He said Percocet was good, he liked that. He said he was off cocaine, which was a depressive effect for him, being off the cocaine, because you're used to that.
Yeah,
you're used to that levels in your brain. He said we lived in a condo, and by my standards, it was very normal. We even adopted a dog, a black lab named Miles. Heather knew that I went out once in a while and did some things I shouldn't be doing. She knew that after I drank, I wanted to do cocaine. She knew that I got out of control sometimes. She had witnessed that, but she had no idea the extent of my addiction. I never allowed her to see that back then. Never wanted that to live that life around her. So that year, I was only an occasional user. I hadn't developed an everyday habit. I didn't have the money for it, and I rarely went out. So, yeah. Senior year, it all calms down. There's articles in the paper about, here's one that says, quote, yesterday, Herren, who has a Lamaze class Monday, appeared reborn. He described himself as a, quote, nice guy and praised the UH fans as being the best in the Western Athletic Conference, some other school. So he said that now they're saying that he's calm now. He's not the same player on the floor. He doesn't talk shit. He doesn't have the same.
He's got a baby on the way.
Got a baby. Yeah, he's like, I'm a dad. I got to keep it down. He says, I run my mouth too much sometimes. I point at the crowd to get them going. That's what the fun of the game is for. That's why they're there. And that's why I'm here. But he needs to chill out a little bit, he said. During his senior season, there's a game against Duke during the Great Alaska Shootout Tournament, and Duke's ranked number 1 at the time. Right. And Fresno loses the game 93-82, but it's nationally televised, and he scores 29 points.
That's a big deal.
That's a big deal. He said they told him, this is what he told a reporter. He said that he imagines the NBA as a haven. He said, quote, I'd lie on my back in a hotel all day, switching channels with the remote and play at night. Simple. Yeah. That's all. He'll be fine. That's all there is to it.
That's where I'm going.
That's where I'm going. His last season here, 11.4 points a game, 1.6 rebounds, 7.2 assists. He had a little ankle injury, nagging throughout the season, too. So at that point, the NBA draft comes around, and, he doesn't know if he's going to be drafted or not. Because based on his stats, he's not a real...
It's not great.
He's not... Well, I'm going to say something that might be, whatever, but I think it's true at the end of this here. Number 1 overall in the draft, Jimmy, 1999 NBA draft.
Kobe Bryant?
Elton Brand. Bryant was 97, I think, 96.
Kobe Bryant was that early?
Yeah, little Stevie franchise, number 2.
Oh,
we'll talk
shit.
about that. Steve Francis, Baron Davis, Lamar Odom, Wally Zerbiak, Rip Hamilton, Sean Marion, number 9 overall.
Yeah.
Ron Artest, who will be a future episode. He's on there, too, that year. Karolinko's on there. A lot of guys. Finally, number 33 overall, 4th pick of the second round, Chris is chosen by the Denver Nuggets. They pick him up. Denver Nuggets pick him. So they do pick him. I don't know why, honestly. I can't.
Denver had a lot of holes to fill back then.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I just.
And also back then, there were a lot of teams that really had, because there was a lot of older guys that were going to be retiring in the next couple of years. There was a lot of teams needed dudes.
I feel like whoever was looking at him, whenever teams are deciding when they're looking at him, they're going, he runs the floor okay. Yeah, he's good. He's got a good shot. Yeah, I don't like this. I don't like that. And then at the end, they go, he's white. Literally. And that's not NBA executives who are retired now will tell you that that's not a secret at all. NBA teams tried to get some white guys on the teams. That was a fact of the fucking matter. If you had 2 guys, one was a little bit better, but he was black, you're taking the white guy because people are going to like that better. They're going to, people want to buy the white guy's jersey. They like that's what it is. And it's been going on since the beginning of fucking time in basketball. Now I don't know if it's the same as much anymore, but
I think they just want the best fucking player now.
Yeah, but back then they were looking at a different thing. Because we'll see here in a minute, when he goes somewhere, there's a reason why he goes there.
You know, that might still be a thing because they are recruiting heavy in Europe for dudes from Greece, shit like that.
Those are a lot of those guys too are 6'10" and can shoot threes, so that's why they play a different style that the NBA has evolved into, and that's what they've been playing their whole lives. So a lot of the European shit's because of that. Anyway, they said that on draft night, he said that they drove down the street in his light blue Jeep Cherokee, complete with a police escort. There was a big poster on the wall that had my face against the backdrop of some bridge. It was like a scene out of some Hollywood movie. Local boy makes good, and the whole town they have a fucking parade for him, essentially, for getting drafted.
Denver?
In Fall,
Boston?
Yeah, Fall River there at home, his hometown. This has real like shades of Tommy Morrison to me right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's going to get AIDS?
Yeah, he's watch out, Chris. He's lucky he didn't, honestly, when you talk about what he did. The next morning, he said they were on a plane to Denver, where they were, being introduced as the new Nugget there. He says that he thought of himself as he said, quote, "I just wanted to be like a regular guy, so I hung out and partied and drank with my homies. I didn't want to be anybody famous." That's what he said. "I didn't want to be this important person." So that's what he said. Going here, though, now he knows that he's got to do better and blah, 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 blah. He said, "People think that because I went to rehab, that's some kind of bad thing. What's bad about that? I think it's a good thing. If it works, yeah, it's great." So in Denver, he said that when he got there, he knew right away there's not going to be any more drinking for him there. Like you can't party with this crew and get by. He said, Denver was full of quality guys, veterans like George McLeod, Popeye Jones, Antonio McDyess, and Roy Rogers. Those are men.
You can't get drunk with Antonio McDyess. That guy is a stoner drinker, man.
Yeah, but if you go out and score 20, you can. But if you're the new kid who's kind of a fuck up anyway, they're going to tell you, "Hey, you better be able to score 20 before you worry about drinking, motherfuckers." So that's how they are. He said that they couldn't have been better to him. He said Chauncey Billups took him to his house and gave him some of his suits to have because he didn't have anything. He said Popeye Jones took me shopping. He said that he was wearing like jeans and sneakers and backwards hats and shit, and that wasn't going to fly in the NBA.
Right.
Those guys were dressing.
Boston.
Yeah, those guys were dressing. Right. So he said that, they're all wearing Prada shoes and shit, and he's got Chuck Taylors on. He said McDyess had a platinum bracelet filled with diamonds that he knew I liked. And the next year, when I was in Boston, he'll be in Boston next year, he came into the locker room before the Nuggets were ready to play the Celtics. "I have something for you," he said, giving me an envelope, and it was the bracelet. That's the type of guy McDyess is right there. That's a good dude. He said, which I would later hawk, of course.
Oh, Jesus Christ, no.
Yep. That's fucked. That's how fucked he was. Think about that.
He's pawning jewelry that Antonio McDyess gave him.
Yeah, that's probably was very expensive, I'm sure, to be purchased. Yeah. He said one of his first games, they were playing the Houston Rockets, and Vernon Maxwell was guarding him. Now, if you haven't listened to the Vernon Maxwell episode, go back after this is done and listen to the Vernon Maxwell episode because it's bonkers. It's wild.
He's a problem.
You'll understand about this. He said, Vernon Maxwell was guarding me when I checked into the game. My nerves almost jumping through my skin. We had a ball out of bounds, and the play was for me to come off a screen. Listen to me, Maxwell said. There's 2 seconds on the shot clock. I'm not going to chase you, so just go off that screen and knock that jumper down. Like he's from the other team. He's like, listen, you do that, you're going to be okay. So I come off the screen, catch the ball, and hurriedly throw up a shot. Air ball. And there's Maxwell laughing at me and pointing at the clock, which said there was 23 seconds left. He didn't look at the clock. He just believed Vernon Maxwell because he knew he was nervous.
Listen to me. There's 2 seconds left.
Listen, just throw it up. I won't even fuck with you.
I'll let you have it.
Chucks it up they're like, what are you doing, idiot? There's 23 seconds left. So
Vernon told me there's 2 left. It's Vernon's fault.
Vernon's a jerk. So the team finishes 35-47 that year. Chris plays in 45 games, 13.3 minutes per game, 3.1 points a game, 1.2 rebounds, 2.5 assists.
Oh, no.
Not playing much here.
No.
He makes $301,875 for that season.
Oh, that's a great payday for that shit.
Fine. It's a fine year. Also, at the end of the season, there's a lawsuit here. Chris and another player filed a $36 million libel lawsuit here against a newspaper for reporting the points shaving allegations.
Oh.
So they do that. He said it damaged their reputations and hurt their chances of playing pro basketball. The article reported on a federal investigation into the point shaving allegations that chronicled Herren and Young's purported involvement with local gamblers. By the way, he puts this whole thing as like, he goes, this is what they would say was helping gamblers. He goes, I'd go into a store. I'm talking to a guy that works there, or the guy that owns the store. And he goes, how you guys going to do tonight against, Arizona State? And I go, yeah, not too good, probably. This guy's hurt and whatever. So, we'll try our best, though. And he goes, if that guy uses that information to gamble with, he goes, I can't have a conversation with people. He goes, they didn't come to me looking for gambling information. If I talk to people about the team, that's not helping gamblers. Like, that wasn't what I was doing, which is probably true. I don't know if they were giving him money, but the problem is when you have the stink of cocaine on you, when you got that coke stink, basically they think that you will do anything for coke, including, go into a little debt and then get out of it with some information.
Right.
Which is what the mafia did that for so fucking long. Players that were on drugs that they knew were players that were gamblers, they get into gambling debt that they can't pay. And you go, well, I know how you could pay it. You can get
win the game 93-87 like I bet.
And guess what? You're wiped clean. That's what they would do, though. You got to hook a guy. So the judge ends up, though, dismissing the lawsuit after ruling that Young and Herren submitted no evidence whatsoever and were unlikely to win at trial. They just came and said, they said we did things and we didn't do them. And the judge was like, where's your evidence? He's like, we're telling you it now. I'm like, yeah, that's not how it works. So
I got a game tomorrow. I can't present.
What the fuck, man? I can't do it. So the witnesses here, I guess they had witnesses that were being asked about, what Herren did, who he talked to, and all this sort of thing. Now, also the Los Angeles Times. Now that all happened a couple years ago when it was going on. Now it's 2000, and the Los Angeles Times is seeking to garnish $16,000 in wages from Chris Herren from the Denver Nuggets. And also another player also. The Fresno County Supervisor Court Judge dismissed the libel lawsuit and issued an order requiring them to reimburse the newspaper for $14,000 in legal fees plus interest.
Oh, you can't do that, Chris.
So they said, quote, Herren has known that he owes us this money, and he owes it to us because we won the lawsuit that he shouldn't have ever brought. That's what the newspaper's vice president said.
Oh, boy.
So after his first season in Denver, they said they had a hard time adjusting. They had a good life there, him and Heather and the baby now. They had a place 8 minutes away from the arena. It was all good, but she was homesick. She missed her family. And if you have a newborn baby, a young baby in a strange place away from your family, that's kind of tough. So they said that they ended up going back home to live in the off season. He said, quote, in retrospect, it was a big mistake. Yeah. He said
I told you that already.
Yep, he said he should have seen Denver as a new home. The mature thing to do would have been to stay there that summer, work out every day at the practice facility, treat the NBA like a year-round job like it should be. If I had figured that out and worked hard and watched a lot of film, gotten in great shape, done all those things, I might have had a 10-year career. Instead, I felt like a kid who couldn't wait for summer vacation. So they went back there. He said, when I was in the NBA, I was able to make nearly $500,000 in my second year. I was married to the love of my life, and if you looked at me that summer with my own basketball camp, driving around in my new black Ford Explorer, money in my pocket, you would have thought I had the perfect life. You would have thought wrong. Okay. October 16th, 2000, he's traded by Denver with Brian Stith for Calbert Chaney and Robert Pack to the Boston Celtics.
Really?
Yeah. So it's a bottom level garbage trade, basically. Yeah. Contract
Calbert
years.
Chaney used to be good when he was with the Bullets.
He was great when he was in college. In Indiana, he was the man.
Yeah.
So in October 2000, they had introduced him at a press conference, and it was a big deal because apparently Boston doesn't really look for New England guys on their team.
Really?
But there's a thing they're talking about where the executives were literally talking, and they go, well, that kid's not bad. And one of them went, he's got a shamrock tattoo on his forearm. We should really pick him up. I swear to God. That's what they were saying to each other.
We got those on our jerseys. He fits.
If he's going to be the 12th man, but they were like, I think our fans are probably going to like that. He can play 3 minutes a game, and he'll still sell more jerseys than most of our team.
Probably true.
That's the way it is, and that's how they look at it. Especially if he comes in there and is even a little bit scrappy. Dive for a loose ball once, and they'll be like, "Oh, that Herren kid! Oh boy! For Christ, he's got the shamrock! He's diving all over the place. He's a fucking animal." I love that guy. He's a fucking animal.
If Herren dives for 2 loose balls, $3 Sam Adams.
Jesus, Herren, he's a fucking king. He's a king, I tell you. Be the most popular guy in Boston. So at one point, this is the Kenny Anderson, Antoine Walker, Paul Pierce, Rick Pitino coached
All right.
Boston Celtics.
Speaking of Pyru.
There you go. Exactly. Boston goes 36-46 this year. At one point, he gets the opportunity to start at point guard. But the problem is he's missing something he needs to start at point guard.
Shoes?
Oxycodone.
Oh, okay.
That was a good time.
I thought maybe he sold the shoes for drugs.
Nope. He needed it so much he called his dealer and told him to drive right up to the players' entrance at the Garden.
Oh, my God.
He said after Paul Pierce and Antoine Walker left the locker room to warm up, he ran outside in full Celtics gear and waited in the rain for 5 minutes for his dealer to come drop his shit off to him.
Wow.
Jesus Christ. He said he took his shit real quick and then got on this floor and played. So then at the midway through the season, he has a season-ending injury because Shaq fell on top of him.
Oh, that'll do it.
Literally, he was crushed by a falling Shaq.
Right.
And, so he ends up 25 games, 16.3 minutes, 3.3 points a game, 2.2 assists.
And lucky to be alive.
And lucky to not have broken, snapped-off legs.
Right.
He does make $316,969.
Okay.
So there's that. He apparently goes to a summer league here with Boston, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But he also goes to Italy to play. Okay. So there's a couple interesting things. He'll never play in the NBA again.
It's over.
Season game.
Shaq ruined his career.
70 games, 3.2 points a game. That's it. Done.
Shaq literally crushed him.
Yep, less than $700,000. So that's a lot of money. I would love to get $700,000, but if you're 22 and you're now retired and that's all the money you made, that's a problem.
Right.
It's not going to last. It's not going to last for 60 years, I don't think.
You got a life to live now.
Yeah, and that's not going to work. So 2001, he plays in Italy for Fortitudo Pallacanestro Bologna.
Hell yeah.
103. Commonly known
a Bologna team.
He plays for Bologna. He plays for Bologna, commonly known as Fortitudo Bologna, and yes, he plays there. Here's what he says: "Quote: It was January 2002. 5 months earlier, Heather and I had gone to Italy, where the plan was for me to play for a team in Bologna for $50,000 a month. The Celtics had made no offer to bring me back, and this was real money, a great opportunity. At least that's what my agents were telling me. Ex-NBA players are in demand in Europe, and basketball keeps getting bigger and bigger overseas." He says there was only one problem. I arrived in Bologna without any drugs.
It's not a problem, Chris.
The bag in which I had my pills hadn't arrived yet. Then we landed. I was met by a guy from the team. "Come on," he said, "we're going to practice." So with Heather and Chris going off to a hotel, he hands me keys to an Alfa Romeo. I jump in the car and start driving around Bologna for the next 2 hours in search of drugs. He said, "But where? I didn't speak any Italian. I had no idea where I was going, but I discovered that something would be true in all places. I went to play around the world. You want drugs? Go to the train station. Go to the bus station. You'll find drugs, or they'll find you." Wow.
In an Alfa Romeo, you'll find drugs.
Someone will imagine you need drugs if you show up at the train station driving a nice car.
Right.
Like, you're not going on the train. He said, quote, "I found this gypsy-looking dude at the train station. He didn't speak English. We were stuck in some bad scene from a bad movie, yet drugs have become the universal language. He sold me a bag of heroin powder for $200, something to last a day or two, and then gave me advice. Quote, dark-skinned men," he said in broken English, "dark-skinned men. A couple of days later, the powder gone, I go back to the train station and find these two Nigerian-looking guys." How do you know they're Nigerian-looking? How do you pick that out as a white guy from Boston? As a white guy from Boston. I know the difference between a Nigerian and a Kenyan. I'm just telling you. I could tell. You're from fucking Ghana? I'm like, no, you're not Nigerian, pal. You're fucking Ghanese. I don't even know what they would be.
I think it's Ghanese.
Ghanese. There you go.
Is that it?
You're a Ghananite. That's all I know. You got gonorrhea, and I'm not going near you. I'm looking for a Nigerian.
I know you're a Ghana American. I know what you are.
I know what's happening. So he says Nigerian-looking guys in their mid-20s who look a little shady. They look at me, I look at them. We go back and forth. Again, they don't speak English. Eventually, we work it out. This is fucking crazy. I'm going to do an in their own words on this because this is just fucking phenomenal. I just love it so much. In their own words, quote, one of the guys had a string around his tooth. He unravels the string and starts to pull on it, and 6 little balloons of heroin come out of his stomach. I thought it was a great sight. That's it. That's the...
What a trick.
Holy shit.
Do it again. What, is there one in your ass I can pull too?
That is my card. Holy shit. You're incredible. How'd you know?
That is the one I signed.
Oh, man. Beautiful. Oh, look, it's the sucking ace of clubs. Look at you. Holy shit.
He pulled a string that was wrapped around his tooth and 6 balloons of heroin out of his stomach.
And he had like a skimmer line going and down his throat where he had just caught a bunch of trout and he pulled them out. So he said that snorting heroin was no different than taking OxyContin. It's the same junk, the same stuff. The misconception is that it's different, that somehow heroin's worse because the stigma is worse. It's not. It's the same. The only difference, when you start snorting heroin, you're one step closer to putting it in your arm.
Of course.
Of course you are. So imagine this guy wandering around Bologna, sitting around fucking whacked out on heroin, not speaking the language. This is a disaster. This is a fucking disaster.
Snorting heroin.
Snorting it up, man. Yeah. So there's one particular time that he's saying he bought some heroin down at the bus station this time. Yeah. He said he went to a park and he was just like zonked out. If you like Bubbles on The Wire, when he's just sitting there, drool string hanging down from him, one of those deals, doing the lean.
You're still green.
Yeah, he's still green, man. Gotta get you brown. So he's doing all that, and he's sitting there, and he's like, has no idea what's going on. People are speaking Italian around him. He doesn't know what it is. And then all of a sudden, there is a noise he understands, and it's dogs barking in the distance. And coming up to him is Bobby Colorado, animal trainer from Fredericksburg, Texas. Yeah. And he says, how is it you come to arrive here? What the fuck is wrong with you? Oh, I come over here with my dogs, get a nice vacation. I come back to the homeland, you know what I mean? I come back, this is where my ancestors are from. I didn't expect to see some fucking stunad bum from Fall River sitting here with your fucking heroin all over you. Look at you, you're a goddamn mess.
The hell is that on your forearm?
One nostril's got white powder, the other one's got brown powder. You're a fucking disaster. Hold on, what's that tied around your tooth? What do you got there? For Christ, would you think it was a neat trick? Get that out of your stomach. What's wrong with you? Jesus Christ. I would tell you to get a fucking dog, but you'd forget about it and leave it somewhere. You know what? I'm here to tell you, don't get any dogs. That's what I'm here to tell you.
Yeah.
If you have any, I'll take them from you. How's that? I'll take care of them because you are a fucking bum. I gotta go. This is ridiculous. Poof. And in a poof of marinara and dog shit, he's gone. And Chris he thought he was really high. We'll put it that way. He's like, wow.
I'm not going to snort the stuff they pull out of their ass.
That's what I'm saying. So he said he was trying to get back with the Celtics, and the Celtics basically offered him, he comes back, but they offer him a deal where it's not guaranteed. So he can be cut or waived at any time. They had guards that they had just picked in the first round, so he ends up getting waived. He said that, his quote is, quote, I had more important things to worry about than the Celtics, namely to get another job overseas, and just as important, to keep Heather from finding out about the state of our finances.
She doesn't know we're broke.
Nope. He said that he had a Payne Weber account, which is like a money, management savings account deal. He said, which I've been rating for a while, sometimes to the tune of $15,000 a month for drugs. And if she ever saw that, she'd freak and she'd know something was really wrong. Well, no shit. He said, every morning I go to a 7-Eleven convenience store that had an ATM and I'd take out $200 or $300. Jesus, that adds up fast. There had been $85,000 in the account when I started tapping it. There was something called hit receipt that told you what your balance was. Most days I wouldn't hit it. I was afraid to hit it. I didn't want to know because I was always going down to 65,000 and then to 45,000. I was making frequent withdrawals and never putting anything in. In the beginning, I conned myself. 45,000's all right. I'll be putting money back in soon. Oops, fuck. Now it's 30,000. Oh
my
shit.
God.
Now it's 20, and what's Heather going to do when she finds out? And now it's fall, and I don't have a job. Rosters are filling up overseas. Heather's about to give birth because she's pregnant again, by the way.
Shit.
And what am I going to do? This is like the second half of Goodfellas. You know what I mean? This is like he's got helicopters and tomato sauce. He's got all sorts of problems. It's a lot. He said, so every day my game was to find the mailman before he came to my house. This is like a kid trying to hide his report card.
Right. He's going to throw out the fucking statements?
Yep. He said I would drive around the neighborhood looking for him, anything to keep that Payne Weber statement from coming to the house. That was the most important part of my day. Find that mailman, try to keep the lie going. This went on for 3 months. Holy shit. He said one morning in a drug house in Fall River, as I was about to snort heroin, he said that somebody said to him, quote, why don't you shoot it? He said, I'm afraid of the needle. So she took my arm and stuck the needle in.
Oh, my God.
That's what I mean.
You, B.
Yeah, I got you. That's why I said he's lucky he doesn't have something. He said, I went back to my house. I went back to that house every morning for a month. Jesus Christ. Shooting heroin was a totally different feeling, a totally different high. For one thing, it entered your bloodstream in 3 seconds, not the 30 seconds it took if you snorted it. Who can wait 30 seconds to be...
27-second savings.
I mean, yeah, you look at it that way. Over the course of a lifetime, you're going to save years. You know what I mean? It's going to add years to your life if you think about it.
Damn it.
Wow. He said the needle had so much power. It instantly took away all of the sickness, as if the needle had more power than the sickness. And I chased it. Chased the rush, chased the high. There weren't very many hours I was straight. But once you do the needle, you've crossed the line. It's a scary day. You know you're crossing the line, but it's not like there's a rational thought going on. You hate yourself. Every time you use, you're taking a chance of killing yourself, but you do it anyway.
Oh, my God.
That is a bad carousel to be on right there.
It is because
awful.
There's only so many times you can put that needle in there, and you need a fix constantly. There's only so many square inches of body.
It's only so much
crazy.
Vein. Only so
and your
much
body
vein.
doesn't heal as fast eventually.
No.
It's just a downward spiral, and eventually you're fucked.
It's fucking terrible.
And you can't get the drugs inside you.
You can't get them inside you, and then they don't work as well, so you need more, and you got to it's a big problem. 2002, he goes and plays in Turkey, okay. For Galatasaray SK. Jesus Christ.
Right.
That sounds good. He said, there at the hotel, there was a bellboy in his mid-20s who spoke a little English. I started working this kid, even though the language barrier. One day, he brought me some marijuana. I looked at it and shook my head. His eyes got a little wide. The next day, he came back with hashish. No, I said. His eyes got wider. Then he came back.
3 little pigs?
Yeah, it's I mean, this one's just right. Well, no, it's going to be 4. Then he came back with cocaine. No cocaine, I said, shaking my head.
Almost. You're getting warmer, pal.
Getting warmer. Now his eyes were open so wide they were bugging out of his head. He pointed to his arm.
Yeah.
Yes, I said, nodding.
That's my porridge.
The one. There you go. That one, perfect temperature. Look at that. Just right. He said, soon I was back to snorting heroin and my habit was back. He ends up playing for the Beijing Ducks at one point.
Really?
The mighty Beijing Ducks.
Yeah.
He scored 63 points in a game for them one year. That year, though. That's not bad.
63?
63 puts up
Jesus.
for the Chinese league here. So 2003, he actually is on a Dallas Mavericks summer league team.
Yeah.
And but they do not offer him a contract at the end of the summer.
Right.
So he goes to play for the Jiangsu Dragons in the Chinese league. Okay. And that's there. Then he plays for Energy Braunschweig in Germany. Braunschweig.
Yeah.
Their home arena is Volkswagen Halle. I just thought that was a nice yeah.
Oh, Holley?
Halley. Halle. Hell?
Interesting.
Hall. It's probably Hall.
Holly, yeah.
Volkswagen Hall, it probably is.
Probably.
That's what it
Maybe
translates to. Yeah, I mean, I think it translates to probably Volkswagen place.
Probably, yeah.
Late 2004, he signs with, God, so many of our fuck-ups have done this, the Dakota Wizards. It seems like even if you can't play basketball, if you just get arrested a bunch, the Dakota Wizards will take you in. Or if you have a drug problem, they want you. December 2004, though, he's released by the Wizards because his ankle's fucked up the whole time. He never really gets to play for them. So that's the way it works. Yeah. December 9th, 2004, he is found at a drive-thru of the Dunkin' Donuts in Portsmouth, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
He is passed out unconscious in his vehicle here. Police say they found 18 packets containing heroin residue and paraphernalia in the car. They said
residue, quote, but no heroin.
No, just the residue. They said, quote, this is one of the officers, quote, I had to break his car window just to get him out. Once he regained consciousness, the first thing he asked was how his window got broken. He was completely out of it. Then I saw the blue packets on the floor in front of him on his lap and realized there were drugs. He said that he apparently had a seizure while he was waiting on the Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru line. Yeah. Herren told the Herald Fall News that he didn't have a seizure. He says, this wasn't my fault. Quote, some lady was in reverse and she hit my car. My head smashed into the windshield and I went unconscious. I was in a car accident. I wasn't just in a parking lot passed out in my car. You were in the drive-thru passed out in your car. That's worse. He said,
how hard would somebody have to reverse to bash your face into the windshield?
Boom. In a drive-thru? Where'd she come from? Across the street? Jesus Christ. I'm going to back into that drive-thru. Also, because he's arrested for all sorts of shit, including refusing to take a drug test or a breathalyzer.
Yeah.
And he says, I don't know what they're talking about. I never did that. That's what he said. He did not deny that the packets containing heroin residue were his, but he claims there were 7, not 18. Great. Tomato, Chief. What are we talking about here? He said,
at that point, 7's too many.
That's a lot, yeah. He said, I don't deny that there has been an issue for me. I've struggled with this a long time. I know I have a problem, but I haven't touched the stuff in months.
Mm-hmm.
Months. Now, months. He's charged with, driving while intoxicated, driving while in possession of a controlled substance, driving after his license has been revoked, and refusal to submit to a drug test.
So he's not even supposed to be driving.
No, he has no license. He's got shitloads of traffic stuff that we didn't even have time to get into.
Wow.
He was released on $4,000 bond. I think it's because he didn't start driving till later. You have to drive right away. It makes you a better driver.
You need practice, sir.
Yeah. Everybody I know that's got their license when they were like 25, terrible drivers. They're the worst. Yeah. So,
I'm a bad driver, but I've been driving for fucking 30 years.
Yeah, I've been driving. No, I'll be driving. So the Wizards here, they have a very silver response. They say, this is the Dakota Wizards, not Washington. They say, we took drug tests 2 weeks ago and nothing has come back from the league. Usually it comes back quick if somebody has a failed test, and we haven't heard anything. In other words, we're good. Mm-hmm. We did everything. Now, Jerry Tarkanian has something he has to say here. He said he always seemed fine and in control. I just hope this isn't true because, God damn it, this makes me sick. He has so much talent, so much ability, not only athletically but socially. Just an extremely likable guy with a great personality, but he's throwing it all away. Yeah.
I think it's been thrown.
It's long thrown. Jesus, He averaged 3 points a league and fucking snorted his way out of the league. Jesus Christ, That's. In July 2005, he pleads no contest to the reduced charges of driving with a suspended license and driving under the influence. So they got rid of all of his drug charges. And this is it. I mean, this is just embarrassing at this point. This is just a fucking disaster. His family's got to be like, Jesus Christ, Chris, we're kind of, people know us around here, man. What are you doing here? What the fuck, buddy? I mean, it's bad. You feel sorry for them. I feel bad for Heather a lot. Like Heather has now 2 kids at home, and she's got a 3rd kid running the streets, sticking heroin in his fucking arm,
and no goddamn money,
and no money. I feel bad for all these people, Jimmy, but not nearly as bad as I feel for Chris Herren, EAC Board of Advisors member/chief, voting section, Civil Rights Division, U.S. Department of Justice.
Oh my God,
it sounds important. It sounds like a job that you fucking need to do, right? Let's see here. We have Chris Herren, aviation professional. Oh, boy. I'd like to trust this guy to fly a fucking plane.
Those guys love Coke, though.
Oh, they do. Yeah, they'll love it a lot. Chris Herren, mechanical. Well, it doesn't make you fall asleep at the fucking wheel. That's why. And crash into a mountain and go, what happened? The mountain backed into me. It went into reverse. And I was just flying by.
Instead, it's like, we got to land now? I think we're doing great. Let's just keep going.
Yeah, what are we doing here? So Chris Herren, mechanical millwright at South Wire Company. And finally, Chris Herren, international award-winning magician and pantomime expert or whatever.
His balloon animals are great.
Yeah, he the Magic and Mystery School in Las Vegas he went to. So there's that guy.
It's amazing. He pulls a giraffe full of cocaine out of his stomach.
And then snorts it all. It's an amazing magic trick. 2005, he goes and plays in Tehran, Iran. Iran, Jimmy. Yeah, well, at least there you figured Iran isn't the place where you'd go look and find drugs, probably. You know, it seems like a pretty...
The punishment, if you find it, I imagine, is pretty stiff.
Well, let's see what he has to say. Quote, my driver was Iranian, but he spoke English. That's a bad start. He would show up every morning outside my hotel with cocaine tied into a sock and throw it up to my second floor balcony. So, yes, he'll always find it. Once I had been there for a while, I knew I could get heroin if I wanted it. It was there, but I was trying to quit. Opiates had caused so much misery in my life. 2005, he goes and plays in Poland for a while. For some reason there, gets a couple of bucks. 2007, he's arrested for possession of a controlled substance again.
Right.
Don't know the details, but he pleads no contest to that. Then comes his main issue in 2008 here. This is a big deal. This is pretty fucked up. He has a pretty bad overdose here, and it's not good. He talks about what led up to it. He said there had been days living in the dark because the electricity had been turned off, and we didn't have the money to turn it back on. This isn't as a child. This is now. He said there had been times when we'd run out of heating oil, and I would take a red gasoline can to the nearby mobile station, fill it with diesel fuel for $10, and trick the oil burner into starting again.
Holy shit.
That's not safe to put diesel fuel in your oil burner, I don't think. There have been many times when Heather had thrown me out, telling me it was really over this time, that she couldn't live this way anymore. I would end up in a flea bag motel in nearby Newport for a few days. Then the money would run out and I would sleep in my car until finally she would feel sorry for me and take me back, and then it would start all over again. The lies, the betrayals, false promises, and all the squandered chances. This is how we lived. We were always trying to hide the ugly reality from the kids, even when they were sitting in the dark and the TV didn't work and it was cold. What a fun. This is ugly.
My dad used to play in the NBA.
This is ugly.
This is where we are.
I would steal money from Heather and then tell her she was crazy when she called me on it. Jesus Christ. I'd tell her she should go to a doctor and get some help, that she was losing it. I'd be screaming at her. She would find needles and show them to me. You're fucking crazy, I'd yell. Those are old ones. So, yeah. He said, she'd say, what's this, Chris? Coming back from the mailbox with an overdue bill. You said you paid this. And then it would start all over again. We bounced check after check, going through thousands of dollars in late fees and penalties. She'd sit in front of her computer and shake as we went through our accounts, looking at the money that was no longer there or that was far less than it was supposed to be. Jesus, this was a fucking mess. So the days of his problem, he said, how bad was I? A month earlier, I'd been at a drug dealer's house in Fall River. Chris, this is real strong stuff, he said. Go easy. I didn't go easy. When I woke up, I had one black eye and the other one was swollen shut. Seems the dealer had been so afraid I was going to die that he kept hitting me in the face to wake me up.
Wow.
Yet when he
seen Pulp Fiction, bro?
Yeah, right? He said, yet when he drove me home, I bought 10 more bags of the stuff that had almost killed me.
That was great. Let's do it again.
That's fucking wild. He says, I was only a few blocks from where I'd grown up, only a few blocks from BMC Durfee High School, where there was a banner on the wall saying I was the highest scorer in Durfee history. I had gone off the street near the cemetery where Lizzie Borden was buried, Oak Grove. Maybe the worst thing that I had just driven through Fall River for a couple miles in a blackout, a ride I don't remember to this day. When EMTs found me, there was a needle in my arm and a packet of heroin in the front seat. It was only about 2 p.m, but I'd been going at it heavy since early in the morning. Oh, God. I had put my 7-year-old daughter, Samantha, in the car like I did every morning after my wife, Heather, went to work. We drove through the nice suburban neighborhood in Portsmouth, Rhode Island, where we lived, and went to East Main Road, where the liquor store was. I bought a pint of pop-off vodka, poured it into an empty water bottle, and started to drink. Then we went back home to wait for the bus that took Sammy to school.
Oh, my God.
Couldn't wait till the kid went to school to start drinking vodka. By the time she was on the bus, I'd finished the pint, and I went back to the package store to get another one. Now I needed some money, so I drove to nearby Middletown, virtually on the Newport line, where Heather was working in a hotel. She told me in the morning that she would leave some money in the car for me. It was $40 under the mat in the front seat, and I started off to Fall River, about 20 minutes from my house, to meet one of my drug dealers. I gave him the $40, and he gave me 5 bags of heroin. I didn't take heroin at night. I'd shoot up at 4:30 in the afternoon just before Heather got home, so sometimes in the morning I'd be starting to get sick and needed more. This was my daily routine. Had been for about 8 months. Jesus Christ, what a nightmare. Put Sammy on the bus, go to Fall River, do some dope, and get back in time for when Sammy and my 9-year-old son Chris came home off the bus. That was my life. That was the only way I could function. Sometimes I couldn't wait to put Sammy on the bus to get my dope because I was getting too sick. So I'd put her in the back seat and speed to go meet a dealer in Fall River. I would make the buy and shoot up in the car while I was driving, Samantha still in the back seat. Dude, think about that. Think about that.
What a life.
How could I have done this? People ask me all the time. How could you shoot up with your daughter in the back seat? They can't believe it. Not surprising. I can't believe it either. But that's what I did. People think when you're doing drugs, you're high all the time, out partying. They think you're having fun. That's not it at all. You're not having fun. You're in hell. Without the dope, you'd be dope sick. So sick that I couldn't do anything or even get up. I'd be in a fetal position. You have to sweats 1 minute, you're freezing cold the next. It's like having the flu with restless legs because you can't control them. He says the dope dealer, with the dope I could function, if you want to call it that. I could drive a car, I could mow the lawn, I could be something of a husband, something of a father. When I pictured a heroin addict before I became one, I saw someone emaciated, someone nodding off. That wasn't me, not in the beginning anyway. I didn't do it to get high, I did it to function. He said, by the time I got to heroin, I was so far gone on Oxycontin that the dope became medicine, something that made me feel good enough to get through the day. Holy shit, man.
Yeah, it's not a party anymore.
He said then more shit started happening that made him more of a stereotype junkie. He said, once I left Fall River about 11:30 in the morning, and I was driving on South Main Street into neighboring Tiverton on my way home, which was maybe 10 minutes away, I couldn't keep my eyes open. I nodded off, woke up by the side of the road about 2.5 hours later with one of my feet out of the door. Jesus. Another time I passed out in a house in Fall River with 4 other people there. They were so scared that I was going to die that they called 911. Holy fuck. He said when I came out of it, he said he walked outside and the police were coming up the sidewalk. Jesus Christ, man. So, yeah, he would get busted and do all this shit, and it's a goddamn mess. So he is found this particular day about 6 p.m. slumped over the steering wheel of his Mitsubishi Lancer, which was partially up on the sidewalk with the engine running and in gear. It wasn't going anywhere because he smashed into a utility pole.
Oh, no.
So that's why that was. He was unconscious, an quote, ash gray color, according to the reports, having difficulty breathing and sweating. So they turned off the ignition, called an ambulance. After being brought back to consciousness, because he was unconscious for a while, he's taken to Charleston Memorial Hospital for treatment. By the way, like we said, hypodermic needle sticking out of his arm, by the way. Yeah. Bag of heroin on his lap. So, not too difficult to see the course of events that happen here. It says in the report, Officer Vale observed a vehicle in the vehicle a hypodermic needle in a small blue bag that he recognized as packaging for heroin. So, in fact, he did overdose on heroin. He denies this at first. He's going to be charged with driving under the influence of drugs, possession of a Class A drug, reckless operation of a motor vehicle. But he had bigger problems because his medical situation was bad. They told him he was dead for 30 seconds. That's not good. That's what the cop in Fall River told me. He said that 2 EMTs had brought him back to life. He said that, Jesus Christ. He said, just shut the fuck up, he said when I started to say something. You were almost dead. That's what they told him. He said that
EMT said to him?
Yeah, shut the fuck up. You're almost dead. That's what the EMTs told him. I was like, all right.
Professional.
I love that a medical professional in Boston's like, hey, shut the fuck up. That's my favorite thing in the world. He said that at this point he has 2 kids, 7 and 9, and Heather's 8 months pregnant. So good time for this. Imagine the stress in her life right now. Holy shit. Working 40 hours a week, having 2 kids, being 8 months pregnant, and then worrying about this fucking guy. Holy shit.
Unbelievable.
He said when he got to the hospital, he was more drunk than high. He said the nurses were staring at him. They all knew who he was. He didn't have any insurance, so they weren't going to admit him. He was in the emergency room thinking of ways to kill himself, he said. It was just, that was how it was. He said he couldn't stop sweating because all the opiates were sucked out of his body after a shot of Narcan, which immediately brought on withdrawal.
Yeah.
So apparently, after Narcan, those people feel terrible immediately. He ends up into Star, a detox facility in Fall River, just down the street from Durfee. It was June 2008. He said that 7 years earlier he was playing for the Celtics, and now he is in a rehab facility in his own neighborhood. So not the best way to go. He said no one had to tell me how far I'd fallen, what I had lost. It was right there on the TV in front of me because he was watching the Celtics in the finals that year. He was like, shit. He said he was 30. This is amazing. There was another kid from Fall River there, and he had a plan. Star was on the second floor, and there was an outdoor patio where you could smoke. He had a girlfriend, and she was going to put some dope inside a tennis ball and throw the ball up onto the patio while we were out there. I was 32 years old. I had 2 kids and a wife who was nearly 8 months pregnant, and I thought that was a good plan. So that's where he's at. He's a fucking disaster. He ends up legally getting lucky. He gets a deal. Instead of facing all these felony charges that he deserves here, he agrees to plead no contest to 3 counts of driving with a suspended license and 1 count of driving under the influence. That's it. Unsupervised probation. You, sir, may fuck off. Unsupervised probation for 6 months, and he loses his Rhode Island driver's license for 3 months. That's it.
What a gift.
Right? He was ordered also 60 hours of community service. The assistant attorney general called it, quote, the deal of a lifetime for him. I would say, Jesus Christ. He also has to provide...
guy that gave Epstein his deal was like, you did what?
Yeah, what the fuck? He's also ordered to provide samples to the probation department, urine samples. And it's also, he's allowed to reside in Rhode Island and may travel out of state for employment purposes. That's what they said. In 2011, a 30 for 30 came out about him called Unguarded, about Chris. Now, Chris Jr., later on, we're talking 2019, he was a 2017-18 New England Preparatory School Athletic Council all-Class A selection, averaging 23 points a game, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. Pretty damn fucking good there. Kid's really good, and he commits to Boston College. Chris Jr. is going to go to Boston College. Jesus Christ.
Wow.
He lasts
now
1
Chris
year.
Jr. is shooting heroin through his cock hole.
Yeah, that's the only way to up the ante. Chris Jr. only plays there for 1 year and then transfers, though. He transferred in 2020 to San Diego, University of San Diego, I think. The Toreros? What the fuck is that? Toreros? The Toreros, I guess. I don't know. So that's his kid there. Now his brother Mike, let's talk about him. Also in 2020, he is charged with rape. That's an unexpected curveball. Yes, it's allegedly occurred on May 28th. 2 counts of rape and 1 count of indecent assault and battery on a person over the age of 14, so an adult. Bail was set at $10,000 cash. He was taken into custody at 663 Bedford Street. The address is of Billy's Cafe and the location where he opened a podcasting studio last year. So that's where he was. He was at his podcast studio. Jesus Christ. You're late to the game, bro. Police were dispatched to the building after the alleged victim had arrived at the Pleasant Street police station, described as frantic and appearing under the influence of drugs and alcohol, wearing only an oversized black T-shirt, no shoes, and claiming she was raped by Herren. The alleged victim had reportedly flagged down a driver pleaded for help, and the driver transported her to the police station. They said that she had visible signs of injury and was taken to St. Anne's Hospital, where she told a female police officer that Herren had messaged her on Facebook, inviting her to his broadcast studio that night. She told police, how many times have we done that, Jimmy? Jesus, you bring a girl in, that's awful. Don't do that. Don't go to people's studios unless you know them, please. Fuck.
Bend over. I'm gonna shove this Sennheiser up your ass.
Yeah, and we don't mean that, like, you should be responsible, but people are gross, so you never know.
That's awful.
It's more like advice.
Yeah.
People told me, the woman told police that she, Herren, and another man she could not identify by name spent the evening drinking and doing lines of cocaine. She told police that the second man was recording portions of their conversations. At some point, the second man left, and that's when the sexual assault allegedly occurred, according to her, which she said included an object being inserted into her, possibly a Sennheiser.
Oh, my God. What?
Possibly a Sennheiser. We're not positive here. So the woman told police she was able to leave the building and had taken some items, including an ATM card, to prove that she had been at the scene. She also, so there was that. Now, Michael had problems before. He was charged with assault and battery in 2009 for punching and trying to run over his 22-year-old neighbor with his car. So he's got some anger issues. Also in 2010 for an alleged assault on his girlfriend. And then about a year later, he was arrested on the charge of assault and battery with a deadly weapon, which was his foot, because he kicked the shit out of some guy and broke his ankle.
He's the worst brother.
He said in Chris's book, he says that his brother estimates he's been in 300 fights in his life, which is an astronomical amount of fights. That's insane. That's too many. The charges end up being dropped. They are dismissed against him. They said that the DA's office said it could not meet its burden of proof because the victim did not show up for the next hearing. That's how it worked. So they dropped the charges. He acts like he's the most exonerated person in the world. Like the woman came in and said, "I'm sorry, I made the whole thing up. I was just angry at him. He's actually a fine gentleman. He offered me a water and then, sent me on my way with money for an Uber." Like that. That's how he acts.
Or the experience was so bad that she was horrified to testify.
That's what I mean. But he's acting like it's what I just said. That's what I mean. He's acting like he is completely exonerated and everything's fine. The victim previously refused a sexual assault examination at St. Anne's Hospital and failed to follow up for medical treatment or testing, and failed to cooperate with investigators. So who the fuck knows what happened? Either way, now since then, since August 1st, 2008, Chris Herren has been clean. So he's been clean since then. In June 2009, he launched. Chris Mullen helped him out, actually. He went and stayed at Chris Mullen's house, and Chris Mullen helped him somehow, like get him into rehab and all this shit, which is crazy, isn't it?
We're going to get you a crew cut. You're going to be great.
We're going to get you a nice flat top, and it's going to fix everything, pal. So Herren in 2009 launched Hoop Dreams with Chris Herren, a basketball player development company to mentor players on and off the court. He wrote the book that we just talked about. He wrote it with Bill Reynolds. He was one of the authors of this, called Basketball Junkie, a memoir, and that's what we just quoted pretty loose for a lot from here. So also like we said, the documentary comes out on him, the 30 for 30, in March of 2012. It's called Unguarded. It's nominated for 2 Emmys, Outstanding Sports Documentary and Outstanding Editing. What he does now, according to him and according to everything he's doing, it's very well documented. Herren now travels the United States sharing his story through Herren Talks with the goal of making a positive difference in the lives of others. So he has all of these Herren Talks, the Herren Project, Herren Wellness. He goes to everywhere in the world and talks about drugs and staying off drugs and talks to kids, and that's all he does now. I mean, he is like pretty heavy into it. Like he has like, there's rehab facilities that he's got a whole thing out of this whole deal. It's these nonprofits here. He's got 2018 he founded Herren Wellness, a residential health and wellness program that helps guests lead healthy, substance-free lives. He's spoken to over 1 million students, athletes, and community members, sparking honest discussions on the topics of substance abuse and Disorder and Wellness. Now, all of the things that people say, too, when he goes there, whenever there's like a shitload of speakers, they're like, by far the standout is this guy. You know, like, he really actually has been doing well. Like, Herren Wellness here, they talk about that, and they call it a holistic recovery approach, offering structured daily services for guests that focus on 8 key elements of health and wellness. He's actually up possibly for a 2022 Mandy Malone Award, actually.
Yeah.
I would say. He has turned it around. Yeah.
How could his last name be so close to his favorite thing? That is unbelievable.
And as you can imagine, that was chanted at him quite often.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
So the heroin. Yeah, he's the Herren.
That'd be like a guy that drinks and drives. Last name of drunk.
Last name of your Jimmie Dewey is your name there. That's what it is. Oh boy, look at that. So can't get enough.
Is this going to go great forever, James, or is there going to be a problem someday?
It's been 13 years. I think
over?
It's good. I think he's good now. I mean, who knows? Like we said, we've watched Ryan Leaf go up and down.
Yeah.
But this isn't like a Josh Hamilton, Ryan Leaf situation where it's like 3 years off and then there's an incident and 3 years on. It's been 13 years with no incidents. Like he's been.
Fingers crossed.
And Heather is still with him. She is all into the business with him. She does her own version of everything. And they're like together in all of this. Somehow, through all of that, they stayed together. That's incredible. Truly. That's incredible. It's wild. So can't get enough. Check out chrisherren.com or theherrenproject.com or I don't know. I'm sure if you go down and just shoot something up into your arm and crash into a utility pole, he'll probably show up like a fairy godmother and sprinkle some dust on you and you can talk about it with him. I'm not sure how that works.
If he was drafted higher, James, he might be talked about more than Ryan Leaf.
Yeah. Oh, if he was a top 10 draft pick, you'd hear about him a lot more. More. It's just a matter that he was, in the NBA, he was a total washout. And he wasn't even drafted high. Second rounders are expected to not make the team most of the time, so it's nobody cares about second rounders. But that said, we hope you enjoyed that crazy shit, wild ass episode of Chris Herren. If so, there's a way to tell us about it, isn't there, Jimmie?
Yeah, there is.
You got it. You can check it out. Go to Apple Podcasts, the purple icon on your phone there. Give us 5 stars. It helps a lot. We don't know why, but it really does. It helps drive you up the charts for some stupid reason. So thank you for everyone who has done that. We really do appreciate it. Just say something. Say, I don't want to drive into a utility pole with a needle sticking out of my arm. We'll understand what you're talking
Shaquille O'Neal
about.
ruined my career.
Shaquille O'Neal fell on me, and now I don't play ball anymore. Something like that. We're happy with that. We're good with it. So, yes, do all of that. Get on there. Give the review. Head over to shutupandgivememurder.com right now. Like right now. Check out everything there. Listen to Small Town Murder if you have not yet. Jesus, you are missing out. I don't know what you're thinking. It's been wild and crazy. And how nuts has that show been lately? Like,
I've been having so much fun.
It's so great. If you're not listening to it, you're really, really, really missing out. So check it out. Also listen to P.S. I Hate This Movie. We just watched Once Bitten, which I'm happy about. And then in 2 weeks, we have to watch Twilight, which I'm not happy about. So there's that. Check that out. Patreon. Oh, actually, first, the social media. Follow us on social media. We're at Crime and Sports on Twitter and Facebook, at Small Town Murder on Instagram. And Patreon is cooking. It's boiling. It's boiling over right now. I'll tell you what. Patreon.com/Crime and Sports. We've had so many crazy episodes. Our last Crime and Sports bonus was Danny Almonte, the not quite little leaguer. And then this week coming up, we're going to talk about the documentary about the Hotel Cecil in L.A., particularly the case of that girl disappearing, that weird paranormal activity elevator footage. How fucking creepy is that? You know what I mean?
It's disgusting.
It's
awful. It created,
it's awful.
But it's also that footage created a monster in itself.
Oh, absolutely. It created a whole other, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about all of that because it's so much. And then some history of the hotel, crime history with Richard Ramirez there and stuff. He'd come in covered in blood and just go to his room and nobody said anything.
In his underwear.
Nice hotel. That's a great hotel you got there. Check all that out. And then if that's not good enough for you, you also get access to all the Small Town Murder bonuses as well and the whole back catalog of both of those. And this week's Small Town Murder bonus is the prisoner dating game. So you can't go wrong. If you've been waiting to get on Patreon, wait no longer. This is the week. Don't treat yourself. Just do it.
Stop
You're going to enjoy it.
dilly-dallying.
Stop dilly-dallying around over there. So do that. Thank you for everyone that has. Patreon.com/crime and sports. And in addition to that, all the bonus material, you will also get Jimmie mispronouncing your name brutally at the end of the show while trying his best to read it. So that's how that works. And it's a good time. If you just also want to have good karma and you want to get your name read off and mispronounced brutally, you can also donate over at PayPal using our email address, crimeandsports@gmail.com. And truly, 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 what you people do for us, that sounded very aggressive. What you people, listen, you fucking people, no, what everyone out there does for us is remarkable. And we just can't thank you enough. And there's not a day that goes by that we don't reflect on how great everybody out there is for everything you do for us. Every nickel you do, every nickel you give, every friend you tell, thank you so much for doing that. Don't you think, Jimmie?
Yeah, you guys are just, it's, I can't say it enough. You've changed our lives. You've given us opportunities that we can't even really explain to you how much you've changed our lives. And without you and without this, I would be working 80 hours a week, waking up next to a monster. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to not do that.
Very miserable people we would be. So, yeah, thank you for all of that. And in a way that we thank you is by reading off the list of all of you wonderful producers. And that said, Jimmie, I think I need that list right about now.
This week's executive producers are Melissa Spears, Jordan Bennett, Emma Sykes, Felicia Clifton, Ryan Guest, Liz Nelson's birthday was this week. Happy birthday, Liz.
Happy birthday, Liz Nelson. That's all I got.
Chrissy-Ann Castaldi, again, thank you very much. Molly McDermott, Brittany Siegel, Stephen Poirier, I think, Lori Olson, and Kate Phillips. Thank you guys so much. We can't.
Thank you.
Can't do it without you, truly. You're
so
amazing.
much for everything you do for us.
Other producers this week are Kaylin Bancroft. Also, Candace Kennedy was accepting orders from people overseas to get Girl Scout cookies, and then she was sending them to them. That's so nice. I mean, obviously, they would buy them, but they would send them to her, and then she would send them to them. And I think she covered shipping, too.
Wow,
unbelievably sweet. Thank you very much.
Candace. Yeah, she's a good one. She's a good one.
She's a good kid. Yeah, she is. Other producers this week are Thomas DeMello, Jesse Pitts, Ashley Vio, Todd Robertson, and Pasqualina Ilardi. They donated both ways. Thank you very, very much.
You got that name right.
Brendan Abels, Thomas Smith, Jackie Ringen, Cynthia Haston, Joanne Ahern, Billy Overbay, Carl Kirschner, again with the fucking umlauts. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to do it.
Corporal umlaut. There he is.
That's what you've got forever, Carl.
Sorry, Carl.
Liz Vasquez, Peyton Meadows, Brittany Feldhake, James Martyr, Sheena Ramsey, Brooke Kale, Eliana Aguadela.
Hey.
Mm-hmm. Dana Stewart's birthday was this week. Happy birthday, Dana.
Happy birthday.
Ethan Morrissey, Steve Schnell, Iron Tree Craftworks, Mariah Lazaretz, Adam Udaney, Jessica Finch, Travis Tim, Allison Warnock, Alyssa Nurenberger, and her Uncle John. She got her Uncle John into the show? No. Her Uncle John couldn't listen. Doesn't matter. Listen, he's no longer with us is the thing, and I'm ruining this, and I sound so
I was just going to go,
thanks,
Uncle John. That's great. He's fucking dead? Jesus Christ. Sorry about Uncle John.
Alyssa,
both
I'm so sorry that I just ruined all of
both of them.
He would have loved us is the thing that she said. I think that's the one.
Oh, good then. Good. Well,
I hope that's true. Elizabeth Everson, Alex Ortiz, Melanie Aguilar, Janice Hill, Andrea Fellows, Kristen Bellinger, Susanna Platt, Trey Valkanar, and Ann L.B. Oh, Anal Beads. Got it. All right. Jesus.
There you go.
Samir Nahinajad, Mario Guerra. He is Bikes, Guns, BJJ. On Etsy. He makes fucking bullet keychains, and they're very cool. Rabbi Shmulovich, I don't know why he loves me saying that. I don't know what the joke is.
We don't care what the joke is. Thank you for giving us
money. But I'd love
to
know what the joke is.
Yes, we would.
Gabby or Gaby, I'm not sure, no last name. Katie Hall, Chandler Easter, Dylan Kreider, I think, Melanie Fagan, I Poop on You. Kate McIntyre, Jamie Little, Dana Longin, Randy Tallarico. It's Italian, right?
Yeah, you're going to mess that up. It's a long one.
Jose with no last
letters.
name. Natasha Williams. What?
Is it more than 5 letters? It's going to go. It's bad. It's not going to work out for your Italian.
Natasha Williams, Sarah Arntz, Bert Kay, Frank Golden, Todd Robertson, Sentry with no last name, Courtney Teasdale, Amy Moyer, Moyer. It's got to be Moyer. Lisa Cox, Nick Garcia, Rohan Bajaj, Richard. L. Wanger. What? That can't be right. Elwinger?
L. Wanger?
That's not Wanger, right? Susan Russell, Alexis Bergstrom, Jordan with no last name, Stacy Kramer, Swifty Flanagan, Tate Murdoch, Tyler Christian, Michael Hansen, Goblin and Gremlin, I believe they're dogs or pets of some sort. Kristen with no last name, Bewigged Douchebag, Leela Lehner, Nathan Jackson, Anthony Rodriguez. What'd I do?
No, not that I said nice.
Oh, okay.
Bewigged Douchebag.
Patricia Major, Sophie with no last name, Sarah Maloof, Jordan Sisk Johnson, Patrick Bedford, Luke Pell, David B., Megan Matuzewski. That's the one. Todd Letts, Chris Thomas, Valley Stipmus, Alyssa with no last name, Pablo Franco Jr., Matthew Scharnweber, Lindsay Montembolt. What? Oh boy, Adila MTZ. That can't be a name, right? I can't pronounce that. There's no vowels at all. Dakota Rice, Clint McDonald, Michelle Higgins, Zoe Moon, Aaron Emery, Mariah Edwards, Marissa Ann, Taryn King, Kyle Walters, Matthew Johnson, Matthew Tansey, David Rouse, Samantha White, Jenny Ziem, Zem. Ryan King, Kristen Mock, Sean Snedden, Matt Rosenberg, David Evans, Stacy Fetterman, Eric Thorpe Jr., Anthony Opadesano. Holy shit.
Hey,
Amori Gonzalez, John Shadolsky. Oh, boy. Lisa Gomez, Christine
Kincaid. You're getting Italian names,
David,
Polish names.
David Dinette, Rhonda Spencer, Sophia, nope, that's Sonia Kirby, Kenny Storr, Amy Lee, Cindy Lee, Eli King, Kristen Holmes, Brent Walker, Jessica Planchich, Brian Brown, Jarrett Byers, Matthew Webster, Gabriella Lopez, K.I., I think that's an I, it might be an L, Angie Priggy, Nathan Sharp, Jason Weiss, A.K. Soldier Guy, Vincent with no last name, Sage Fritchley, Katie Conqueror, Wade Waller, I almost had it, Emma Allen, Cameron Commodore, Kate Cimarosti, Thomas Robinson, Gabrielle Boyd, Don DePriest, K.D. Moore, Ann Engstrom, Lori DeHai, I think, Daryl Washington, Neelio Marin, Chris Trenner, Michelle, nope, that's Michael, Martinson, Riker Frohock,
what?
Matthew, nope, that's Nathan. Matthew? There's never been a Matthew in the history of anybody. It's Nathan.
I've never heard of the name Matthew. Hello, Matthew.
I created it.
Perfect. You're going to name him
Nathan Warren.
Name him Matthew. Young
Sita
Matthew.
Melville, Tina Jacobs, Bruce Wagner, Dina Morissette, James Wynant, Cassidy Barnett, Loretta Kennedy, Emmett Maeli, Jacob Hansen, Maggie with no last name, Jaden Blomstead, Anthony Rosenberger, Melody Kernatz, Janae Serdar, Amy Wiedemann, Joe Anderson, and Ira Anderson, James Nance, Michelle, oh boy, Bardakichigi, Bardakian, Josh with no last name, Thomas with no last name.
Moving on.
Jenna Evert, Evert. I don't know. I just burped. I'm sorry.
You looked at it like you burped. I'm looking at you. I didn't see the burp. I just looked up and you were like staring at it like you were really trying to figure it out. But no, you just burped. Your fucking mic was covering your mouth, so I didn't see it open. Fucking, I had the monitor in front of me.
Sierra Howerton, Amita Goindy, Jesus, Jacqueline with no last name, Neoteric gentleman, Dominique Whitney, Stephen Norris, Hunk Gooden, Patricia Hanley, Van Jones, Vanessa Evans, WB, Dixie with no last name, Rebecca Robbins, Samuku, nope, that's Susamu, Iraqi, what? Ryan Patel, okay. Alton Horton, here's a who. Ashley with no last name, Brady Taylor, John Bennett, Elijah Ruddy, Julie Fitzgerald, Stephen Kramer, Carla Reynolds, Emily Daniel, John Filkins, Mike Euler. He's back. Thanks, Mike. It's been a minute. We know Mike Euler, right? We know that guy. I don't know why.
Yeah, we do.
He wrote an email. Did he hate us at one point? Now he likes us?
I don't remember, but I know the name. I know we've had interaction.
We got a history with Mike Euler. I don't know why.
We do.
Nick Sturdivant, Susan Wathan, Kendall, Sage Parker, Devin Decker, Cheryl G, Jacob Carr, Heather Burland, Amanda Thomas, Robbie Russo, Jimmy Denver, Beatrice Brandel, Heidi with no last name, Aaron Burgeon, Laura Ondal, Emily Harris, Zach Cole, Wayne Bradley, Ian Mitchell, Sissy Rose, Travis Monger, Fiona Campbell, Melissa Nicole Martinez, Evelyn Gokin, Punky Trashcan, Clinton Grout, Blake Box, Abraham D. Nebgen. Boy, oh boy, that was a tough one. Justin Yelliott, Grant Vanek, Jimmy Peterson, Seth Tracy, Carla C., Marissa F., Allie Arce, Patricia Blankenship, Damon Brown, Caitlin Lewis, Brittany Cobb, Nathan Potts, Sean Whalen, Amy with no last name, Natalie with no last name, Tyrell with no last name, Noreen with no last name, Shannon Morgan, PJ Benson, Gabrielle Turner, Lisa Bradley, Drew Freetag, Natalie Wall, Annette Jayberg, Zoe Bird, Star Annalise, Chris Vega, Luis with no last name, Tori with no last name, Jeff Pike, Eric Smith, Rebecca Caputo, Katie Bailey, Miley Forbes, nope, that's Mila. God damn it. James Swin, Jordan Beach, Mark Gonzalez, and Derek Edwards, and all of our patrons. You guys are fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, so much. Honestly, we can't thank you enough for everything you do, and just thank you. Thank you. Jimmy, what if they wanted to talk to you? How could they find you out there in the world?
You know where to find me, and you found me, and I appreciate it, and go find James. Where can they find you?
You can Google us both, and we'll pop up, and you can find us. It's not that hard. You know how to find people. Jesus Christ, look up our names. Yeah. If you want to find us, you'll find us. So
it's really easy to find people today.
It is. You just pop a name in, and they'll pop up with all of their shit. So
yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody. Honestly, we hope you enjoyed this crazy-ass episode. An early contender for a Scummy Award next year already. 2 of them, the Mandy Maloon Award and the Golden Gilretha, both up for grabs in the first episode out of the gate. We love it so much, and we can't wait for next week. And live from the Crime and Sports Studios, we will see you next week.
Bye.
If you like crime and sports, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this white Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. We're going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles,
a big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud,
sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.